This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
What a fantastic morning. Look at that. The two hyenas are now busy escorting the carcass back to the den. A very, very good morning. And most of all, welcome to the beginning of the morning safari. This is Sydney Pumurani Mikosi. I'm traveling with Kurt, who is my camera operator. Without any waste of time, I'm just going to quickly go back to the hyenas. Please don't forget that this is an interactive activity. You can talk to us, follow us on Twitter, #SafariLive. You can also follow us on YouTube chat stream. So we are so very lucky this morning. The two hyenas, we just got them now. We don't know where they are coming from, but we can see that they are coming from a kill. I don't know if they killed this animal themselves or they've just taken it away from another animals. So the direction where these hyenas are going is towards the den. They've got a den somewhere much more in this area. Look at that. I can start to see them now. The sighting at least is developing. The other one is walking much very slow. Now the one who is having the food is walking in front. Look at that. This is beautiful. So hyenas are so very social and they do care about each other. Look at them now. That is looking very much heavy. They are now getting very close to the road. And I'm sure if I get to the road here, you are going to see them nicely. Now they are very nice and clear. So the possibilities of these hyenas to lose this carcass, they are also very there. Because the animals such as lions, they also come and attack them for this kind of food. We saw it happening last time when one of the lions came to the den and take away their food. So now I can see that the one in front is looking very big. So that must be the female. Females, they've got a lot of strength and they're more powerful than these males. So we're just going to keep following until we see what is going to happen when they get to the den. Maybe they will be able to take it there safely. They are coming from very far. We have been following them for a while now. The blue wildebeest is the one who called us and said, come and have a look this side. Someone is passing by. They were just giving some warning calls. They might even meet the leopards. You can see that the one who is having this carcass in front here is holding it heavily. You can see that he's walking after a very short distance. He's putting it down, relax a bit and carry on. So, but by looking at the tail, this must be a nyala or a bushbuck because the tail I'm seeing on the carcass is so very bushy. So that bushy tail is telling me that it is a nyala or a bushbuck. So you can see they are going straight towards the area where they are hiding the babies. So maybe it will be very interesting to see how they celebrate when they've got food. Those who did not go out for foraging, when this one bring back food, well, let's see what they're going to do. Maybe there will be an interesting ceremonial greetings and welcome. So you can see that looks very heavy. And it's going very fast. They are not even sharing that responsibility. The other one is just escorting, moving behind. The one which is holding has been holding from the beginning. Oh, my apologies for that. I lost communication because one of the branches hooked my extension cord. So now let's quickly go to my other friends who are also about to start on their activities this morning.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome once again to Juma in the Sabi Sands. My name is indeed Steve, and I'm joined on camera by Senzo Mkis. He always feels like he's going into a boxing ring when you do that. Mkis. I hope you're all having a wonderful morning. It is a beautiful, clear sky out here in South Africa today. And, well, please send through your questions and comments to hashtag SafariLive and throw them in the YouTube chat stream. We are decided to just pop in quickly to Hukumuri's famous Warthog Hotel, which Senzo and I were fortunate enough earlier this year to see him kill 2 warthogs. It's just over here, and there's basically just a couple holes in the ground. We are right on top of what we call the Katina, and I will explain that a little bit more shortly. But this is where Senzo and I were not so long ago, when there were no leaves in the trees, and we watched Hukumuri kill a warthog outside that burrow, and then a few days later or a few weeks later he did the same. And I was chatting with someone on the game drive not so long ago, and they said they followed Hukumuri from Buffelshoek Dam all the way back west to Simbambili last night. So he is on an absolute mission. Where the Duke of Juma is, we do not know. We've heard that there was some soaring on the dam cam, so we're going to go and have a look around. But what I'm going to focus on this morning, folks, I'm going to focus on the ecology, show you how summer has moved in versus the winter that we had, show you the difference between the trees on the top and on the bottom of the slopes. But for now, all the way up in the Mara, David is still in the black cotton soils.
And welcome to the Mara Triangle in Kenya. My name is David, and on camera is Bungay. Bungay, bonjour monsieur. And we're very excited to have everybody on board. We have a beautiful sky out there. The sun is yet to push out. It's still rather chilly here. We are talking of 59 degrees Fahrenheit and 15 degrees Celsius. That's rather cold, but we are not worried because we have enough layers this morning to start our day. Well, I'm sure Stephen Sydney must have told you we love hearing from you. Should you have any questions or comments, send them through hashtag SafariLive. So look at that beautiful eastern horizon there. Very good job, Bungay, there. Sorry, Bungay. Jumbo back, jumbo to all of you, jumbo back. That was my foot on the brake that had refused to get out because I wanted the sun up, did not come out the time I wanted. And yes, Bungay was away on leave, and he is now 2 days old, and he's ready to see the new year while here in the Mara. That sounds good, Bungay, isn't it? He says could not be better to see the new year out in the bush. Jeremiah, yes, what red sky this morning. Is a beautiful sky, Jeremiah. Happy to hear your name. Happy you're on board. Don't go anywhere, Jeremiah, because we have a lovely morning and we're promising you lots of good sightings, both from Kenya and from South Africa. And we are looking forward to entertaining you a lot. Now, I need to move, Jeremiah. I know the other people. There's a place, I think I've seen some elephants not very far from here. So, before I get to my Ellis, Sydney got some interesting predators.
So you can see that now the hyenas have just arrived, and I can hear the one having a kill in front is calling. I can hear just something like... So maybe now is the time to call everybody. I am back. We are back. We've got something. So you can see that hyena foraging is not an easy exercise, because when they got something, if it's very far away from the den, they've got to take it back home, and it needs quite a lot of strength, because these animals, they are traveling long distances and they are just holding the carcass from the mouth. They are talking. They are using a kind of a language I don't understand. can see that she's looking everywhere. And this kill looks very much fresh. So they're coming from the direction where we saw Hukumuri yesterday, where he was doing some hunting. Maybe it's him who caught it, or any other leopard, or any other predator. So a lot of people, they think hyenas... this is an early breakfast. Hyenas don't have a problem to work almost 24 hours. You will see them during the day sometimes, and you will see them at night all the time. By looking at the stomach, you can see that too much has been consumed already. So the one which is brought back here is about taking care of those who were not there when these two were eating. So this kind of animals, you will hear them making some calls when they're excited. When they've got a kill, they also get excited and call others. You will hear them laughing. Sometimes that's where the name laughing hyena is coming from. This is a very dangerous decision taken by these hyenas. Why am I saying it's dangerous? Because the lions, this we have witnessed. I have witnessed before. I was once on a sighting where a koki was having something to eat, and a very big lion from the Avoca coalition arrived. And he came running and started attacking koki because of the food. So bringing back this kind of food to the den, it does jeopardize the lives of their little ones, because predators, they come. We can smell this carcass from far. We have been smelling it while we were following. We can smell that this is so fresh. So you can see now that the female is taking it away a little bit from the den. Maybe this is to do with safety. Maybe the other hyenas are coming back. I can hear there is an alarm call given by some of the francolins. So I'm just going to reposition. While doing that, let's quickly go to the Masai Mara.
Well done, Sydney, having spotted those very special predators of Juma in that particular den. Now, we have been having lots of rains here in the Mara, and we also have a den, and there's a particular clan of hyenas we've been following called the North Clan. But because of the rains I'm talking about, we have not been able to access that area for the last 3 weeks. Well, either way, the elephants have been entertaining us, because whether it rains cats and dogs or buffaloes and elephants, the elephants will be out here always, by virtue of their size, their big feet, their wide feet also. I mean, big, tall legs, wide feet. They have not been able to sink anywhere, or they'll always come out to areas where we can also easily drive. Now, there's a huge cow there, and she's very close to where we are. And you notice we are in infrared, because it's still rather dark here where we are in Kenya. So it's the best way for us to use an infrared camera for us to have these very good visuals of this particular cow that is just pulling grass. Not sure whether you can hear her pulling the grass. Fantastic. Look, confirms to me that all of us can hear that sound of her just uprooting the grass from the ground. She looks pretty big, mama, and she's a big cow. And I would guess, to me, she looks a bit pregnant. She could be pregnant, I would say. And you can see our sky now looks different than what we had before. It's grey or black and white. Again, for the same reason of being in infrared camera. And one advantage, you can have such animals so close to you, and you do not influence or affect their behavior by shining any artificial light to them, which is very good for us and especially for the animals. This way they'll be always comfortable with us, however close we look. Definitely that forest you see there is a black and, is a green forest, but at the moment it's black. So it's small herd of a family here of about how many? Six Ellis. And I'm thinking that one there could be, or the first one you saw, could be the matriarch of this particular herd. Now I think Stevovo have some beautiful sun coming up in Juma.
Yes, well, thank you very much, Gigi. We do indeed have a beautiful, beautiful sunrise. And, well, we are out in the open. Beautiful morning. If you look around, you'll notice how many green leaves there are on the tree. And, well, we are on top of the hill. On top of the hill, oh, getting caught up, where the plants have to be very different to the plants at the bottom of the hill. And a lot of that has got to do with nutrients. A lot of it's got to do with the access to water. So when you look around us here, you'll notice that this woodland here is dominated by large-leafed trees. We've got trees all over the place here, full of leaf. And not so long ago, maybe 2.5 months ago, there wasn't a leaf on a tree in this area, apart for certain species. And well, water is everything. And if you can give a plant water throughout the year, generally will keep its leaves. But due to the fact that water becomes unavailable, because as I said, we're on the top of the slope, so the slope goes down. So on the top of the slope, the water access, obviously the water table drops, and so trees then become what we call deciduous and drop their leaves off the tree. All of that falls onto the floor, beautiful organic material that's then recycled into the plant, or into the soil, but the top of slopes is characterized with broadleaf trees, normally lacking thorns or spines. Now that is an important element to pay attention to, and we'll get to that more in a little while once we get to the bottom of the hill. But what we've got here is one of the large-leafed or the large-fruited bush willow, and we've got a little visitor on him that I didn't notice at first, but you can see that the leaves are ginormous. And these plants need the leaves because if you know anything about water, the further you have to pump water, the bigger your pump needs to be. And so essentially the leaves of the trees up on the top of the katina, the top of the slope, have to be big, because what happens is that the surface area of these leaves, the wind blows over them, and that is what sucks the water up from the roots. And the water is obviously loaded with nutrients and minerals for the plant, and the transpiration, which is the wind blowing the water off, causes a suction force which causes the water to come up into the plant, and the plant does all the things it needs to do. And obviously the plant is full of sugar, full of protein, but generally these plants on top of the hill don't have thorns. They have what we call tannin. And well, the tannin and the chemicals, or anti-feedants as we call them, anti, against, and feedant, to feed. So against feeding, it's to try and avoid animals eating, but more specifically up the top here, insects. Never too late, that's a really long caterpillar. It is a beautiful caterpillar. Look at that. Now, even though this plant has got anti-feedants in it, caterpillars are still very, very prevalent. And there are two very specific butterfly species, the apricot playboy and the guinea fowl butterfly, that occur exclusively on this tree itself. A couple other bush willows as well. And there's many, many, many other larval stages of butterfly and moth that will live on this specific tree. And so lots of animals might eat this sort of when it's green and fresh, but as it starts getting a little bit tough at the end of the season, they do avoid it in obviously preference of more tastier stuff. But the insects, they have a really, really good go on it. And the leaf surface itself has got a wonderful surface area for the laying of eggs and for the movement of these beautiful insects, which then will obviously form wonderful butterflies, which will pollinate flowers and then will move off and become food. Not only are these caterpillars food, but so are the adults. But that is one of the plants on the top of the katina. We're going to delve more into the topic, but in the meantime, let's go back over to Sidders and his spotted hyena.
From where I am now, all I'm hearing is just the bones crashing. The hyenas just started eating now, but they are eating while they are looking at what is happening around here. Maybe these hyenas can hear something coming, because they are not just very relaxed eating, they are also checking their surrounding. Hyenas, they've got very strong jaws, and they've got a very powerful bite. They've got strong muscles and they've got strong teeth structures. They even got those teeth which can be able to pulverize the bones from their small prey as well as big prey such as the small wildebeest. But only one is feeding at the moment. Nevin, that is true. About 90-something of the diet of the hyenas is consisted of their own kills. A lot of people, they think hyenas are just scavengers. Hyenas do chase animals. It's just that their hunting strategy is not the same as the hunting strategy of those well-sophisticated hunters such as the lions. So they chase the animal until it gets tired and then kill it. So you can see that only one hyena is feeding at the moment. The one who is feeding is the one who has been holding this kill from where they got it until here. So she wants to eat first. And the head on that animal has been taken away. You can see that these animals, they are able to crush the spinal cord. Oh, the other one is listening to something. You can see now it's checking. Maybe there's something coming. You can see now they're trying to check. You can see the movement of the ears. So they're not comfortable at the moment. You can see how they're looking. Maybe we might see an unwelcomed visitor. Or maybe they're just seeing another hyena. Paula, these hyenas, they are still confusing a lot. Some of the viewers are saying it's Koki and Ntima. I'm not too sure if this is Koki or Pretty. The easiest way for me to recognize them is when they are cubs. When the cubs are suckling, I can easily then identify them. You can see that they're not comfortable at the moment. Maybe we're going to see something here. One is now looking at that side, and the one feeding left the carcass and is just looking at that direction. And the small one started looking there. We haven't seen the babies yet. Maybe the babies are still now sleeping this morning. When they got back here, they were also looking for them, calling everywhere, and there's no answer. So the hyenas sometimes, not only the hyenas, predators can be able to live behind their cubs and their puppies for quite a long time. They can go for even more than 2 days in search of food. Sometimes coming back to the den, they find that the babies are dead because of starvation. Starvation does kill the babies when the adults are out foraging. So, but to the hyenas, it's much better because their little ones can go for a while without drinking again. The milk they produce during the lactation period has got quite a lot of protein content. Hyenas is one of the predators which can suckle their babies up to 18 months. So that period of 18 months, I think, is much more advantageous for the survival of these little ones. So I'm just going to reposition now and see if maybe we can see where that food is taken away to. Maybe we might even see who is coming. We saw them trying to investigate earlier. We might see who was giving them some noises from that side, showing that he's coming this side. So now let's cross over to my friend.
There's always something, and I'm looking on the road ahead of me, and I can't see very well because it's still rather dark here. I'm not sure if it's another hyena I'm seeing or a lion or a lioness, but to me it looks like a predator. But way further ahead of it, I'm seeing some elephants, but while we could be coming from one predator to another. I got a feeling it could be a lion or a lioness. I don't see any spots on it, so definitely it's not a leopard. I got a feeling it is a lion. This will be very exciting. And not only a lioness, but a male lion. So what I'm going to do, I will stop right here because he seems to be coming where we are. And 1 minute, there's a game ranger's car in front of us, and there's a male lion marching towards us. This is very exciting. After Sydney, have heard some hyenas. Now, my guess is this is one of the Quichua males. There's a coalition of 3 male lions around this area, and we call them the Quichua males. And he's coming right towards us. What a lovely morning, what a beautiful start. Hello, lion. See how majestic this male is. The only thing is for us to wait until he passes us. It would be difficult for me to drive back, and he's passing on my right. I might put my head down. I apologize for my head and my body, but that lion is wobbling. And there he goes. He just passed us. So what we're going to do, we're going to turn around and see if we can catch up with him and know where he's going and why he's alone. How exciting was that? So, turn around and find out where this boy could be going. He is huge, huge male. There are always 3 of them. Lisa, you see such a beautiful boy, and he is very beautiful. Lisa, thank you very much for your comment. Lisa, we'll give you one more view of this boy. The good thing, he's walking on the road, so it doesn't worry me thinking he'll get in the grass, Lisa. But where he's going, I have no idea. Where he's going, the direction it came from. So, let's first go a little closer to him and find out. Now, the 3 males I'm talking about, we've got 2 names for the 3. One is called Fang, the other one's called Halftail, and the third one doesn't have a name as yet. Not sure which this one is, so once we get close, we might have a better look at who he is. Just a little close without getting into his space. And we'll first stop there, and you can tell from the feet 1 minute. When we see his pose, I'm sure we can tell what I meant is he must have been walking somewhere in the grass. If you look, his pose look very dark, and they must have collected a lot of black cotton soil somewhere. And he is heading towards the Olololo escarpment. And in this particular area we are in, there's a pride of lions that we call the Olololos. And he is one of the males that, is a pride male, I would say, for that particular pride. Him and the other 2 are the ones that have been ruling this territory for a very long time. Remember, our safari drive is always very interactive. Should you have any questions or comments, send them through using hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. We like hearing from you because you keep us on our toes and you keep engaging us. See how he blends in there with the road as he keeps walking away. Not sure he's going to join the rest members of the pride, which I have not seen, but ideally they'll be going somewhere, either for a drink, join the other 2 males, or maybe the pride could be having a kill, who knows? And the best thing for us to do now is to move forward and follow him and find out where he's going. He might lead us to the other 2 or lead us to their pride. Now there's a car coming behind me. I've got to give it away a little bit for it to pass, and then we're going to follow this particular lion. But as before the lion, all right, guy, do you want to pass? There's a guy behind me. The people who follow the balloon rides, very good, he just passed. So what I'll do, I'll just follow that lion slowly and surely and see where he is going. And meanwhile, we'll take you back to South Africa to my friend, Steve.
Nasa and David, you have found a male lion. Well, we have not. decided to stop and just to still survey the surroundings, feel a little bit like a leopard this morning sitting on Termite Mountain, seeing if we can see any animals. But the purpose of me getting out the car, I do enjoy getting out the car and having a little sit. First of all, having a quiet moment watching the sunrise. But we've got some more large-leaved plants here. This is the red bush willow, easily identified once again by the large leaves. And then on the tip of the leaf there is a little bit of a twist. Now the leaves nowhere near as big as the last bush willow we looked at, but still very, very large and no thorns at all. Once again, being on top of the Katina, on top of the slope. If you don't understand Katina, basically a soil profile that starts at the top and it goes down the hill to a drainage or a river and then levels off. And it's very, very characteristic of this area with our granitic sandy soils. And very important, we'll talk more about it. But with these large leaves, the new leaves are quite edible. Well, not really. Lots of tannin. Now, you can make lots of teas out of bush willow. It's really good for all sorts of body ailments. And so there are chemicals and anti-feedants in these plants to stop animals eating them. And as I said, to prevent the insects from eating them. But it is an arms race because insects and lots of caterpillars and butterflies, lots of butterflies and moths lay their eggs on these plants. But the pump is to pull the water up. Paula, which plants grow the fastest? Well, that's a great question, and I'll tie that into what I'm going to say. Where we are is on top of the Katina. So when you go down to the bottom where we're going to go, the plants that grow in the water, that have access to water all year round, those plants grow much, much faster. For example, this bush willow and all the other trees that you can see around here, pretty much all of them will lose their leaves in the winter time, which means during winter they go dormant. So the summertime they're pulling up water, pulling up water, pulling up water. As their daylight time changes, they drop all their leaves off the tree, because what happens, if you've ever thought about a pump, if you run a pump and there's no water coming through, you'll burn that pump out. It works the same for trees. If the trees keep trying to pump water and there's no water to pump, they're going to start using the water reserves they have inside, and that'll damage the tree. That is the reason why many, many trees lose their leaves. It's either due to very cold snow conditions or due to the lack of water. But where we're sitting on top of this termite mound is really, really interesting, because even up here on the top of the Katina, you can get plants like this one. Now, this is a plant you only generally find down in the bottom of the Katina or associated specifically with termite mounds. And I found this one actually just next to the road, not on a termite mound, not on anything. It's the first time I've ever seen this false marula right up on top of the slope. Most of the time you'll find them, if you find them up here, they'll be on a termite mound growing into the ground, because as we know it, this giant termite mound is the fungus-growing termite, and they have access to water. So right where we are, they have access to water. However deep it might be, they have access. So a plant like this, part of the mango family, is deposited, the fruit, deposited on here by a baboon or a bird. That seed will then grow all the way down to the water, which will allow this tree to grow, and even in the winter time, potentially even have leaves throughout the year, not drying out, not pumping through and losing excess water, but having water all the time. Okay, we're going to keep this theme going this morning, see how much more we can talk about. Right now we're on the top, and slowly we're going to start to descend and see how it changes. But in the meantime, something that is exciting, still with Sydney, the hyena clan.
So you can see that now the hyenas are very much relaxed, but one of them is so worried. I don't know if maybe it's about any of the other competitors coming, or it's about checking if the family members are on their way back so that they can share these carcass. We have seen this female just now chasing away this young one, not wanting the young one to feed at all. So it looks like they are waiting for the other ones to come back, or if not, they are concerned about something here. Ninamu, the matriarch most of the time does share this food with the other hyenas. Remember, the matriarch is the responsible female in charge of the whole clan. So the matriarch has to eat a lot so that she can be able to defend. Males in these clans, they don't have much of a responsibility. If you can check as well, the females, they've got a level of testosterone which is multiplied by 3 compared to their male counterparts. So the females, the matriarchs, is the ones who must be feeding a lot so that they can be able to defend the den. So I won't get surprised if the matriarch is just taking down some of the small prey just by herself, because she's got quite a very significant role to play. The eyesight of the hyenas is not as good as the hyenas and the leopards. Their sense of smell is very good. These kind of animals can be able to smell 5 kilometers away and follow the wind until they get to the sighting. And they don't only pick up the information about the carcass, they even smell the predators, because every time when I am out with the leopards, hyenas do come and pay a visit. Every day, it's normal. You will see if you've got a leopard for about 3-4 hours. In these 3-4 hours late afternoon, hyenas are going to come and greet and pass. So you can see that they can smell predators, come and check if they've got something. So now they're moving away a little bit from here by the den. Maybe they are now calculating the risks. They are moving away the carcass. This is what they are doing. I like it, because if any predator comes here, the little ones are going to be safe, and it will be very great if the predators don't detect the presence of their little ones, if their little ones are around. So now let's quickly cross over to David by the Masai Mara and see how he's doing.
Well, we have been able to catch up with our lion, and what we're going to do, we're going to look forward a little bit, and then he's going to come and join us. He's still walking and not sure where exactly he is going, so I'm going to turn and give Bungay the angle he wants. Not sure it's the very best angle, but I think it still serves the purpose of what Bungay may want. And I'm sure, yeah, we got a vehicle behind us which needs to pass. Just hold on for a minute. I think the best thing, the good guys who are chasing the balloon now in the morning, and let's see the way he comes out. So the best thing for us is to wait for him to come and pass us in the front. So just hold on for a minute. So we're going to give him his space. Excuse me. He's coming right behind us. So let him just come and pass us. And he's coming towards the right side. It's not the best angle, Bungay, for you, but you're going to catch him. Excuse about my body there. And there he is. He's a huge male. I'm trying to guess of the 3 males that we have here. This is not the half-tail, because the half-tail, you can tell this, he got his full tail, and it's not fang. I was able to look inside his mouth, and I saw like he got all his teeth, especially the canine teeth, which fang could be missing one. So this is the 3rd one, and somehow he tends to be alone. Of the 3 Kicho males, he doesn't hang around more with the other 2. The other 2 are always closer to each other, and the vehicle there blowing dust going away is the vehicle they're talking about. We call them balloon chasers, and when the hot air balloons are up in the air, they'll always go and fetch the ballooners. What did you see? What can you look? No, not sure what he's looking at. I don't see anything the direction he's looking. The only thing I see are the ellies we saw earlier. But he is either going to catch up with the rest of the pride or with the other 2 coalition males, or he knows there could be a kill somewhere. That's just my guess. Not once many animals have always chosen to use, roads, because of course they're quite clear. Child of the universe, you'd like to know how many prides does this pride, coalition control? Well, let me see. Number 1 is the Ololo Pride, and the Ololo Pride is where we are. Ololo Pride, I know definitely exactly this point I am. This is where they live. And then there's another pride that is called the Mogoro pride. They also control that pride. There's a third pride that is called the Marsh Breakaway. That's another pride they control. And fourth pride, if I'm not wrong, is the Mara River pride. So child of the universe, I think the three males here control four prides. I would be trying to remember if there is a fifth one, because the fifth pride that I'm thinking of is the Owinos, and the Owinos, the last is Owinos. Owinos is another pride, and there's one lead female there that we call Butternut, and the last is Butternut. Butternut was mating with Kipuli. Look at that beautiful sky there, and the sun is trying to push up, and it hasn't come out the way I would have called it a proper golden moment, but still by any standard it's a beautiful eastern horizon to watch for about 10-15 seconds before we go back to the hyenas, and I guess with Sydney in South Africa.
So you can see that the hyenas, they are still around here, and the carcass is somewhere on the floor. But what I have noticed here during my arrival is that the female is the one who was feeding, the one who was holding the carcass all the way down from where we have met them. And she's not giving a chance this other one to come and eat. Maybe the food is distributed according to the ranks. Is one of those who are at the bottom. Remember, by the hyenas, males, they are low ranked. So don't get surprised. The other vehicles are also here enjoying this very great sighting. Every time that one moves much closer to the food, the other one is turning aggressive and move the food away. So this food, I'm sure by now, has been moved more than 10 times. Every time this one makes steps much closer, the food is taken away. At one stage, he was chased. So they don't have a specific hyena watching out for the predators. When they're feeding, all of them, it is their responsibility in order to check safety. I have seen it here. When these hyenas are eating, they are eating and listening at the same time. You will see the ears moving all the time, swiveling. You can see there what that one is doing. So they are feeding, and at the same time, they are also listening. So the thing is, they do get most of their food also from the other animals, which can also follow them from where they have taken the carcass away. So other animals can keep following in order to fight to get back the food. You can see that one is so concerned about something. I'm trying to check here if there is anything. Now they're running away. There must be something here. You can see that now they are running away. All these hyenas are running away, and they have been looking around, and suddenly both of them decided to run away and leave the carcass unattended. Maybe they have picked up the presence of the predator. We must be having one of their counterparts coming here. Maybe a lion or a leopard. So some of these animals can come and reclaim the food which has been taken away from them. So if not, they must be just running away because they misjudged the situation. But they're looking very much curious. You can see also how they're moving back to where the carcass is. And they both ran away at the same time. And their concentration is much more towards the southern side. I'm trying to check around here to see if I can be able to see what they're seeing, but it's difficult. Yes, I cannot smell far, and I cannot see far, unfortunately. David, the tooth of the hyenas are very much strong. because these are the animals who does crash quite a lot of bones. That is why if you see their droppings are consisted of white color. That white color, which represents calcium from the bones, shows you that they have got a strong digestive system and they've got strong tooth to crush the bones. Yeah, some of them, I'm sure, sometimes they must be losing some of these tooth structures when they are feeding on these very strong bones. Imagine taking down an animal such as the buffalo by the lions, and they come there to scavenge on that. The bones must be very much strong. So you can see now she will be coming back again to chase him because he's moving much more closer. Let's see what's going to happen. Can you see that? So now the food is taken away again. She's moving it. So if you look at the build of this female hyena, it looks much bigger, and the front legs are much larger than the hind legs, and the chest, you can see that she's got quite a lot of muscles there. These animals can be very much aggressive. Don't just see them running away here a little bit and leave the food unattended. Hyenas, they are so very much powerful, and they don't easily get nervous, especially when they're too hungry. They will approach the predator and try by all means to take away the food. So specifically when all the members of the clan are around. So I can see that now this carcass is taken away again. It's good that they brought the carcass back to the den and now they're moving it away. I like that idea because this has got something to do with the safety of their cubs in the den. Bringing the food back to the den, I'm sure it does jeopardize the life of these little ones. So hyenas are those animals who has been spotted dispersing animals such as the lions. So now let's cross over back to the Masai Mara and see the lions.
Well, one predator to another predator, and what we've been doing is leapfrogging with this particular lion. He is walking, coming, overtaking us or passing us. Then we would give him space and we would do the same, go follow him and overtake him and wait for him to come and give us these great visuals of sometimes what we call kings of the savannah. I was talking about his wet paws, and you can see he got very muddy paws. So apart from walking on the road, he must have been somewhere where it was very wet, and then he ended up like coming to the road. Cats in general do not like wetness, and I'm sure he would prefer to be where he is than walking through the grass, which is still pretty wet and muddy. And for those of you who are joining us now, this is one male that belongs to the Quichua coalition, and the Quichua coalition consists of 3 males. Paul, thank you very much for your comment, and you said this is so cool. I agree with you 100%. It could not be better than just seeing a majestic, huge male lion walking on the road, minding his business. And definitely he must be going somewhere, and I've had my few guesses. You can see how close he is from where I am. We're taking what, less than 4 meters, and it gives us such joy when you see such animals walking close to you. And that's the confidence they gain with time, that they can trust us as much as we trust them. And so long as you avoid your body movement, you're not very loud, they'll always give us some wonderful visuals. Angie, I would guess this is almost a fully grown male. I would guess he's about 8 or 9. And Angie, I think he is fully grown. He has reached his maturity. In terms of size, in terms of body morphology, Angie, I don't see him getting bigger than that. So my look of things, he could be anything 400, 450 pounds in weight and 7-8 years age old. That could be my guess. And to me, he is fully grown. The three of them look more or less the same size when you see them. And looking at the other one that is called, the half-tail, which to me is much bigger in size and has a much darker mane than that one. Well, we've got vehicles that will be passing us in front of us, which definitely are the vehicles I was talking about that chase the balloons in the morning, and they are all going to fetch the ballooners once those baskets land. All right, we're going to move again and see how lucky he'll be with this lion, or whether he's going to lead us somewhere. All right, as we head out, seeing whether he'll lead us somewhere, let's first go back to Steve. Let's allow all these vehicles chasing the balloon just to pass on the road.
Thanks, David. Well done on keeping up with your male lion. I know it can be tricky sometimes, but you see Senzo's framing up there on a beautiful silver tree. Beautiful, beautiful. The silver cluster leaf is one of those trees indicative of the Katina that we find here in the Sabi Sands and around on the granitic soils. And the beautiful silver color makes it very easy to identify. And it is one of those trees that occurs at the mid-slope on the way down. So up on the top there, we've got the broad-leafed trees pulling the water. We call that the bush willow woodland. And then you get this very characteristic band of the silver cluster leaf, which we have got over here. And then some more bush willows that are kind of mixing in between. Sometimes there's a specific line that you can see exactly where the silver cluster leaf grows, but there's always sometimes a transition where you get some of the other bush willows moving in. Now, what exactly is causing these trees to grow the way that they do is that because this sandy layer from the top is very sandy and it's underlain by a granitic hard rock. Oh, that was my phone. I do apologize. Stefan Winterboer is saying good morning. Hello, Steph. Normally my phone is on silent. I do apologize about that, folks. It looks like I'm buying drinks this evening. Okay, so the silver cluster leaf is characterized by the fact that where the sandy soil comes down the slope, and the sandy soil eventually with the granite underneath hits an impermeable membrane where the sandy soil meets the clay, but underneath the soil. It's all sand still on top, but somewhere underneath here there's a clay layer that meets the rock. And where the water, because water is falling down the landscape all the time, as it comes down, it hits that clay layer and it forces it to the surface. You might not see the water, you might not see the moisture at all, especially in the dry season, but it's characterized by this very specific tree that occurs on exactly those sandy soil seep lines. And when we look closely at the tree, it's got very silver, shiny leaves. Once again, it's quite broad to be able to pump the water up, because in the dry season there's hardly any moisture nearby. But the chemical component in this tree itself is unbelievable. Absolutely disgusting. Tony Tu says, you want to know if slower growing plants live longer? It really depends on the species. For example, we've got the red bush willow and the variable bush willow and the large fruited bush willow up on the slope, and then the leadwood down on the bottom. They are the same family, but leadwoods seem to live much, much longer, but red bush willows, we don't really even know how long they live. So all it is that just like a tortoise's shell or the rings of a tree, trees that get water all year round are growing all year round. Trees that get water only half the year, they grow dormant. So the wood generally of plants growing on the top of the slope is generally much harder than plants at the bottom. Okay, so this plant is full of chemicals, and it's all about insects. All about not being fed upon by large herbivores, and there is enormous amount of insects that still proliferate. They pollinate. You heard Sydney yesterday complaining about that very smelly sock smell. Well, these plants in many areas are in flower at the moment. They smell like ripe socks to be pollinated by animals that like the smell of rotten cheese. But insects proliferating, eating, laying their eggs, and that is just one of the habitats that we find in this moving landscape. Well, we're going to continue on down and show you the next level in the strata of the soil. But in the meantime, I think Sidders is still with his very, very interesting Djuma clan.
So the hyenas took away all that food. Now they're just about a kilometers away from the den, and they are in one of the area which has been dug by the elephants. You can see now the food is hidden there. They are taking it out. They have assessed the situation from the den, and you can see they are still very much inquisitive. That area where they're checking is the area they're avoiding by now. So these kind of animals, when they've got something, it does attract problems again. Unfortunately, they don't have an ability to hide their carcass up into a tree like the leopards do. So you can see that they are not settled at all. So the other thing is they are not sharing the food at the moment. I think the matriarch or the female which is now here, I'm not too sure if it's the matriarchal one, but I know females has got high ranks. So this female, because of her rank, wants to share the food with the rest of the clan. So you can see now she was also cooling because there's water there. Look at that. They're checking by all means, and they're using this bush in front as a cover. They just went there and hide. As I indicated earlier, they can be able to smell something 5 kilometers away. So we don't know what they have smelled from that side. But the concentration and the movement of the head. And these kind of hyenas, their territory is much big because they don't only concentrate inside Djuma. They do trespass to some of the transverse land. The territories, when it comes to the properties, only works to us. We follow the rules. They don't follow the rules. So at the moment, I can promise you their territory is very much large. I can hear another one calling. I hear the call now. Maybe that is one of the clan members. Let's just see. Maybe they will answer. Or they might, because they don't want to expose what they have. Yeah, I can hear. One of them is answering. One of them is calling from far. So they can be able to hear each other's calls. Yeah, the call is coming right from their back. Yeah, this one wants to answer. Yeah, I can hear. So when these hyenas got to the den, they were hoping to see the little ones. We could see they were going around, giving a call to get the little ones out. The little ones, they never show up. We're not too sure if the other hyenas moved the little ones, the cubs, from the den to the other den, or they are just there inside hiding because they've been threatened maybe last night because of something. Remember, these kind of animals, when the little ones are hidden by the den, it does not mean they are safe, and it does not mean other predators don't come there. These predators who does pay visits, different. Oh, look at that. I think that one is now losing it because it has not been given any chance to feed and is getting aggressive now. So now, Jonas, quite a very lovely question. The hyenas, they've got a den because that is where they are hiding their little ones. Look at that. So their cubs, they are hidden there in order to grow. And apart from that, those kind of cubs, they must have to be deep inside so that the predators cannot come. We do have predators such as the wild dogs. which can be able to kill them. And even lions can kill them because they want to minimize competition. So predators, they do kill each other's cubs and each other's puppies just to avoid competition. So now we can quickly follow them because I saw they went behind my vehicle heading much more towards that side. Let's quickly cross over to David by the Masamara.
Well, our male lion disappeared and entered in some thickets, and I thought, I will not going to follow it again, and I will look for something new. And chances were, where it was going, maybe as they go in thickets like this time around, either it could have gone and just have a little nap, which was not worth following it. And I'm sure there's a lot of other things I would be able to see. So this particular area here, this is where the olorolos in general are found. And we call them the olorolos because of the escarpment that is not very far from where we live. And I want Bungei to show you that beautiful escarpment from here all the way and maybe to the road that leads us to the camp we live in. So I'm going to pan and show you what we call the oloro escarpment. And I've always said anybody who watched the movie Out of Africa must have seen this escarpment. And that road you see behind those trees there, that road leads to the camp where we stay. So at the very top on that ridge, that's where we live. And if you look carefully, you can see a building there. That is where, or what you call the final control. And now that expands all the way to the left. And there's a very beautiful lodge there. That's called Angama Lodge, who are our neighbors. And that is the escarpment. So me and Bungei, we have agreed. There's a song I'm writing, and my chorus of that song will be Ololololo. And Bungei told me going to be doing opera, and he'll be the soloist, and I'll be doing the drums. And anybody who comes here, I've always told my friend, one of our directors, could look when he is able to come to East Africa, he'll enjoy the views from here. So from top there, if you look at, Mara Triangle, which just comes down here, it gives you some stunning views of the savannah. Some of the beautiful trees we got here, and that tree is very similar to what you'd call a sausage tree. There's a pride of lion here that we call sausage tree. Kathy, that road is very tough, going up and down. I'm sure Bungei, Kathy, will show you that road again. So what we do when it rains, you must be in your four-wheel drive, and you do what you call low ratio, and you give your engine some very good torque, and you get a very good momentum. If you look at it, it's very steep. So going up there is a bit tough, but we got very good cars, Kathy. Again, as I said, you need four-wheel to go up there so that the car becomes pretty stable, up or down. Jerry, you say you do not miss that road. I do not know what you're talking about, but I know in your heart you'd be happy to be here if you come here now. This road, the thing is now, we got a better formula, Gary, of going up there and coming down. And as you come down, you get every 1 second of the views down there of the savannah. And of late, we have been seeing apparently some ellies on either side of that road. And the forest, Gary, I'm sure you remember to the right, we have been seeing some crowned eagles. And it's so colorful. Either one side you see ellies, and the other side you'll see the crowned eagles. Now, we have paved the road. It looks so good, and we have put a bit of little blocks to make sure nobody slides up or slides down. Otherwise, the only challenge is at the moment is more or less very narrow, and it's like a one-way road. So if you meet an oncoming vehicle, it becomes quite a challenge. So you have to communicate to the guy at the boom to make sure if you're coming up, any other traffic coming down, to stop right there to allow you to go up there. Triwal Stivovo, being a very good botanist, wants to tell us something about all the plants he has seen this morning.
Thanks very much, Gigi. Well, it is a wonderful place to be. And you'll notice now where we are, it is a completely different setup with regards to the vegetation that you see around here. Now, we are at what we call sort of the low-lying area. We've obviously we've gone from the top of the slope to the mid slope, and then there's a band in between that can be quite variable, but then you get this sort of third or fourth strata, as you were, where the water comes out onto the surface, and quite often with it all of the salts and a sediment that comes from the top. So because of the moisture coming from the top of the Katina, it washes down, and you actually get lots of salts in the environment here because water evaporates, and all the silicates from the granitic soil are then deposited on the soil surface here or below the surface, and that leads to a very interesting dynamic. What we first have here is the magic guari. We've spoken about them many times, and this is a plant that indicates moisture. They stay green all year round. If I ate one of these, it's not as bad as a silver cluster leaf, but this is a plant that grows on sodic soils, so soils that are high in salt, soils that are high in salt around granitic soil. So they come down to the bottom, and this is indication that the soil area here is actually highly nutritious but also overutilized. So we're at a stage in the Katina where the plants are very different, and on the ground you'll see that there's lots and lots of grass, and we have the ability for lots of animals to utilize. There's huge impala middens here. The grass and forbs, everything that grows here just gets eaten. So as it gets eaten, what happens? All of this grass gets removed, and what happens eventually is with more rainfall, you get erosion. So these areas are very sensitive to being overgrazed because the nutrients from the top of the Katina are coming down. Chris, I like to eat most plants out here. You all have to see what it's about. But anyway, this area, because there's a lot more nutrients in the soil here than up at the top, gets a lot of activity, a lot of animals. You see the impala midden here. They will spend days and days, wildebeest, on this area, warthog, and overutilize the soil. And what happens eventually is that top soil layer, which is there, where the nutrients are, that gets eroded away because of the lack of vegetation, and it leads to underneath a sodic layer, which is very hard and very impermeable to plants and water moving through, and it can often be very catastrophic. And once you damage that area, very hard to bring back again. So this is the one area, the sodic area, where there's lots of nutrients, lots of activity. You'll find all of your grazing animals. Get me some kale, Dory. I do enjoy kale. It's a nice superfood. But so hang on this side, you'll see there's an accumulation of the guari plants that are growing over here. And what actually happens with the erosion is, with the area moving and the soil kind of disappearing, you'll often find it's not very evident here, but the soil that moves away, you'll often have plants like these guaris standing a little bit taller as all the soil around it has washed away. It's called a pedestal, and it's very often when you see that you can see that the vegetation is degrading and the soil is disappearing, and that is due to overstocking, lots of animals in one area, wildebeest, impala, and warthog. But at the bottom of the slope, we're going to continue on because there's going to be drainage lines, the river itself, and the dynamics of those are also quite spectacular. But while we do that, and while I take one more sample for the road, we're going to jump back once again to Sidders and the hyena den.
So these hyenas, they are now back again by this side of the den. I think the danger, maybe according to them, has gone past now, as we saw that they were not settled. They were just moving these carcass around. But only one of them is feeding. This other one is not feeding at all and not given a chance. She tried by all means to have something to eat, but it's difficult sharing at the moment. So the one that we heard calling earlier must be now getting much closer, unless that one was calling just moving away towards the opposite direction. They did not answer. They have attempted to answer, but they didn't. Indigo girl, these animals, they do have a distress call. We heard it clearly the day we saw one of the avoca males attacking Koki. How Koki was calling, you could hear that she is giving a very strong distress call. They do have that, and it's something we have heard before. It's difficult to be a hyena, is not easy, because you go and take food away from the prize and from the lip of the leopards. Sometimes the very same animals come back to take it away. You bring it back to the den and they keep following. When you've got the cubs in there, you are now exposing the cubs to danger. That is why they don't want to hide these carcass deep in there. Because if they do that, other predators, when they come looking for it, might end up coming across the babies unexpectedly. So unfortunately, they cannot climb trees. So they don't have a chance to hide this carcass, which means everything they get, they must have to eat immediately to avoid these competitions. Imagine holding this kind of carcass for a couple of kilometers like we saw this morning, and coming here, another competitor comes. Do you think this hyena will be having any energy to defend this carcass? I don't think so. They are powerful animals, intelligent animals, but because of working hard, they do lose strength sometimes. Nancy, the dominant female is not like she won't let everybody hunt. I think it's a good idea to get her eat first so that she can look after everybody, because that is what she's doing. She is responsible of the whole den. So eating first will at least protect everybody. So, but if the other ones are coming to feed and they feed more, she get less, whereas she's in charge and she must defend the carcass and the puppies. It's going to be a challenge. Reason why the females, the matriarchal females, has got quite a lot of testosterone and all this female is that when they've got cubs, they must have to be the one to stand out and defend those puppies. So these males, when they are part of this clan, all they're doing is just eating. So these are the ones who are responsible and who must defend this carcass, and who must defend also the puppies. You can hear the bones crashing. So these hyenas, after eating this, you will see the first droppings, because the carcass is still fresh, they're going to be very dark, and the droppings after a couple of days is going to be white. Those white droppings, you will see them here, and they don't easily get dissolved. Some other animals at this stage, such as the tortoise, you will see them feeding on green grass, but also they go and eat droppings of these hyenas and all the other animals who are eating bones, so that they can have a shell maintenance. So nature is balanced. We are not giving any supplements. Animals themselves knows where to find what. So you can see that it's not all about feeding. It's feeding and observing at the same time. So now let's quickly cross over to the Masai Mara and see how the hyenas in Maras are doing. I know in Mara hyenas are interesting.
Well, I am very lucky because I've been able to catch up with the main pride I was talking about. That is called the Olololos. And that male, that is the male pride to this particular lions here, went totally in an opposite direction. And when he decided to go in the thicket where I could not follow him, I thought, I won't follow you, let me look for something else, as I was saying earlier. And I found this pride here. That's just two of the very many that we got here, because I've counted about 1, 2, 3, 4, and 11. Now, we got so many prides of lions in the Mara Triangle. This is the largest. When together, they are always 16. So we got 11 here, and 5 could be somewhere. Most of them, as you see, here are youngsters, and there's one big female that I saw we should get maybe the other 5 could be like the 3 females, because it normally consists of 4 females that are fully grown. If you look at those ones there, they are all youngster males. You can see a bit of they got a bit of mane on their necks, and that tells you they are all males. And what this translates into, when the time comes, when they get to about 2.5 years old, going to 3 maximum maybe, and they'll be living this pride. I was telling Bungay earlier, they're going to form one of the largest male coalitions I know of in East Africa. Teresa, you say, oh, in a row, it's amazing, and it's really cool, because what they were looking at earlier from a distance, Teresa, they were looking at a toppy. That's a very strategic way of, laying ambush when lions hunt. If you look at them, they're all, Teresa, they're all facing in one direction, and from where I am is about, what, a kilometer or so, 900 meters. We got some 5 toppies there, and that's what they're focusing on. In the Mara, Teresa, I'm sure you know, we always have the migration of the wildebeest like every year, and all what you see there was covered by the wildebeest a couple of months ago. Now all those beasts are gone. We had so many zebras too. They have all headed back to Serengeti National Park in Tanzania, as the wildebeest will be preparing to calve down in the month of February. So now these lions are left in what we call the green season, and they have to put something, or their menu have to change and forget the wildebeest for now until maybe next year, and they'll be looking at toppies, hartebeests, buffaloes, giraffes. I'm talking of the animals that do not migrate. They're always around here all around the year. And that does not mean all the wildebeest will go, or the zebras will go. We still have a few pockets that stay behind. So the Ololos, just the other day, they managed to bring down themselves 2 buffaloes in one morning. It must have been at night, because we found them feasting early morning, about 6:15 in the morning, and they had like eaten half of them. 50% of each buffalo was gone. So could have been the drama. Could have happened early in the mornings, maybe 3-4. They tend normally, lions take better advantage of darkness to hunt, because they normally see better than the prey. What do you want to do? You want to go flat there? All right. So nothing out of the ordinary here when lions choose to go flat. But you see, others are still looking, and should any prey come accidentally by here, lions will take any opportunity to bring anybody down. Very good. I'm going to stay here and watch if anything may happen between these lions and the toppies. And talking of the big 5, there's one particular big 5 that's larger than the rest.
Indeed, Gigi, the biggest of them all. We have got the African elephant, and oh, sorry, Mama. Probably hear the red-crested korhans shouting in the background. And this female elephant was just feeding on a very nice black monkey thorn, which is in a very interesting place. It's kind of in a bush willow section, and it is regarded as what we call fine-leaved. So even though we've got elephants, we can continue on our discussion of ecology and the landscape, because, well, the purpose of understanding the landscape and the habitats and the plants that occur there is that you'll then be able to find the animals, because the animals will favor certain plants at different times of year. We know the elephants will eat on the bush willow leaves this time of year, and in the dry season on the bark and on the roots. So here it brings us to the next plant sort of family that we're looking at, and well, we can broadly class these as fine-leafed trees. So below the quarry line that we just saw and the sort of sodic patch, you will then get what we call generally open areas that are predominated by clay, and then they give rise to many of the acacia species. I will say acacia because I still enjoy using the word acacia. Acacia means to bear thorns. And you can see how fine those leaves are. But what is very interesting is that entire thing there is the leaf. I'm just going to reposition. Ow! there are thorns. Okay, so these are branched. Basically, this is one entire leaf. If we compare it to the bush willow, that would be one surface area. But now this one is narrowly divided once and then twice. So this is called a twice divided leaf, or also known as a compound leaf. But sorry, Sens, I'm just trying to not get the thorn stuck in my hand. But for use of just a general common word, call it fine-leaved. So they're right at the bottom of the catena. All the clay soils, all the nutrients, because the clays are the smaller particles, the nutrients are also quite small and also generally quite soluble. The salt is soluble. It gets pushed down the hill and then deposited at the bottom of the slope. And that then gives rise to these beautifully nutrient-rich plants, which also have the ability to... Okay, Joy, I'll have to re-explain briefly with a picture, but just to finish off with this one, fine-leafed plants are generally very, very tasty. Very, very tasty. Just check there's no insects. A bit of fiber, but almost no tannin. And so that's why these plants have got, rather than tannin in them permanently, they have got thorns. Because unlike what the elephant was doing, the elephant was just taking the black monkey thorn and just stuffing it in its mouth. Most animals have to selectively feed. A little bit, a little bit, a little bit, and then the plant over time will pick up sort of a defense to that animal eating it. But these plants, generally low down in the landscape, have access to water throughout the year, so they don't really struggle. They're constantly in leaf. And if they do get too hot, well, these little leaflets that you're looking at here can actually fold, and they can reduce the surface area even more, so that when the water is low and there's not too much water available, or it's too hot, they can just close themselves up and restrict the water loss that is going to be characteristic of a warm and windy day. Okay, so let me just quickly show you a picture that I managed to find on my phone. I've got a very nice book back home, obviously, but my camelback exploded yesterday, and my book is now, for the second time, wet. So let me just show you this picture that I managed to pull up on a very famous Googly. Now I happen to be in a no signal area. There it is. Okay, you're going to have to zoom, Sense. Maybe I can turn it sideways. Okay, yes, I can turn it sideways. This is what we call a catena, Joy. Everyone else who's interested there. Okay, so starting from the left, let me just hold that steady. Starting from the left-hand side, you'll see that underneath here, this is all granite. Granite, can you see the granite there? And it runs all the way down even to the river. Okay? Now, on top of the granite is you get sedimentary soil in the form of coarse, sandy soils right at the top there. So they're relatively deep, but they're very sandy, and sandy soils are coarse, and water doesn't really stay there. It drains through. So the water will fall down, will drain through, and it'll hit the rocky area because it can't go through the rock, and it'll run down the rocky area here, and it'll push itself out over there, because over there is where the clay, oopsie, sorry about that, the clay, which is also, let me use a stick. I think a stick works much better. Hey, Senzo, sorry about my head. So the clay soil kind of meets over here, because that's also sedimentary. That's in the bottom of that's at where the river basin would have formed. So where it hits from the sandy soil to the clay soil pushes up, and that is where we get our silver cluster leaf band. But further than that, it will drain through and seep through the clay soil, slowly seeping out over here. And over here is where you can get somewhere around here the guarri thicket that we saw, the sodic area, and then right down at the bottom where we're getting to the river itself, where the soil is very, very deep. Lots of alluvial soil, which means it's transported from far away, and generally lots of nutrients and very, very tall evergreen trees. But we'll get to that point in a moment. I hope that has cleared up the catena for you. But essentially, the plant classifications along this line are very easy to identify, and each one will have a different seasonality with regard to animal feeding and animal movement due to the fact that there's more moisture down here, more nutrients. It's thoroughly enjoyed throughout the year, but prone to being overgrazed and overutilized, whereas here in the mid-slope, these plants have got serious chemicals that most animals leave them alone, but insects go crazy. And up on the top here, these plants have got lots of minerals, but in the dry season, they lose all of their leaves. And this is where we find elephants in the dry season feeding on the bark roots of the trees. So very nice when you understand this system that you'll know when and how to find animals. For now, this is where we're spending most of our time looking for the leopards, looking for the cats. That is where their food is hanging out. And well, as the season changes, they'll have to start ranging further and further to find the animals that they're looking for. But we'll continue on. But in the meantime, let's go to David and the Olololos.
Have remained here, and they're still watching the toppies. So the focus or the eyes of that particular male are focused on some topi that have come a little closer, not where it was initially, which was about 1 kilometer away, but that could be anything about 700, 800 meters. In general, such a big pride would not care to go for a topi because there'd be too many. But if it's one female, we have seen single individual females going for topis, or even zebras on their own, or even wildebeest. But these ones have to calculate, is it worth to go for the topi or not? For 11 lions, I would say, it's such a small, snack just to share and burn so much energy to bring it down. For those of you who could be joining us now, this is the Olololo Pride, and we named them after an escarpment that's not very far from where we are. And we're in the Mara Triangle in Kenya, and you can see the expanse or the beauty of this wilderness that we live in. Now, looking so green because we have had lots of rain, I would say the last couple of weeks, and we have been having short rains. Ideally, in Kenya, we have 2 seasons of rain, long rains and short rains, and apart from that, we have summer all around the year. But the weather pattern has been quite erratic, quite unpredictable. When we say short rains, they appear as long rains, and the intensity has been very high. There's one particular 2 days or 3 days or so, we had lots of rain, and not once we were not able to broadcast or to bring you these beautiful sightings from here because we had to power down. We had lots of thunderstorms and lightnings going on, and so much rain that we couldn't see. And I think there's one particular day we were rained on for 2.5 hours, and we went back in the camp, to become very wet and very cold. Now that's why we have all this beautiful green here, which if the rains will continue, the grass will continue being tall and tall. Cool breeze in general, when you look at the lion's hunting behavior, the females will always initiate the hunting. The females will always do the bigger job. They're much faster cool breeze, and they are, smaller and not as heavier as the males. But occasionally also, we have seen males also having their own kill. The pride males of this particular pride here that we call the Kichwa males, we saw one earlier today. If the females are quite a distance from where they are, and they get hungry, they definitely have to look for some food. They'll source for some food somehow. And as we all know, coalition of males do not live together with the females. They'll always come together once in a while. If they need to eat, they'll definitely hunt. But in general, females do all the hunting, and not once after the females hunt, the males will very quickly pick up and come and join them. And ideally, we have seen males pushing the females out, and they'll first eat until they're full, and will allow the females to come much later on to join the party. Now, this particular pride has 4 fully grown females, which are very good hunters. The other day we saw one of them hunting a topi on her own, and she did a pretty good job. She ate almost half of it before inviting either the sister or the first cousin to come and join. And these youngsters, we did not see them for the 2 days until that topi was finished, the 3rd day by the hyenas. I was saying earlier, this particular pride have 7 young males, and most likely by mid next year, these young males could be thrown out of this pride. Pride males in general will not allow the males to grow in the pride, and if they do not kick themselves out, they'll always come and show them the door, and that always helps to avoid inbreeding, and these males will not mate with their mothers or with their first cousins. And if they're going to form a coalition, I'm looking at like those 5 boys there. If they are going to form a coalition, it will be one formidable group of males around this area of the Mara Triangle. Now I think Sydney is doing a bit of tracking.
I have got something very, very much interesting, and this is one of those animals I haven't seen for quite a long time. Looking at the ground here, you can see that it's like the 3 fingers. You can see 1, 2, 3, and you can even see the kind of nails there. This is coming from the artfuck. The artfuck is much more active during the night. It's nocturnal, and this artfuck, it was very much low because I can even see the drag mark of the tail. So the artfuck was going somewhere here. And here is where it's going to get interesting. Just wait and see. So this artfuck came here, and then he came to dig. So I can see he was standing like this. And he was digging here, looking for the ants or the termites. The artfucks, they are so mimicophagy. Which means they have got a very special diet. They only feed on 2 things, ants and termites. And this is how they dig. Sometimes when they're digging, the dust blows. Their eyes have got what is called a nectating membrane, which is a membrane we see with the hippos and the frogs to avoid the dust and the soil from entering the eyes. They defecate and cover their droppings. So here sometimes when you open this kind of soils, if it's not about the diet, you will see the evidence that they have left their droppings. They do bury their droppings. So it means here, because I can't see any evidence of the droppings yet, it means this was just about looking for the diet. So this has been the artfuck. Sometimes you do see artfucks during the day. I've seen that. During the winter season, insects, they go far away from the ground. And because of that reason, the artfuck must have to wake up early so that they can start foraging. That very big body is moved by the energy from just the small insects, ants and termites. He can eat the termites alive and kill them afterwards in the stomach. What an animal. All these other animals, they kill this, their prey first, but he can be able to kill them in a caloric space by the stomach. So now I will be going back looking for one of the cats. Yes, artfuck is one of my favorite animals. He's so cute. So I used to walk the ox during the day, and when they're concentrating for the meal, they don't mind. You have to be very careful, and then you don't step on the sticks. You will get very close to them. I used to see the artfuck at 11:30 during the day in winter, and about 3 o'clock in the afternoon when I'm doing the walks, and I will follow them and just be with them. Sometimes you can get very close. It's quite a lovely animal. Carol, the artfucks, they don't sleep in these termite mounds. They dig the termite mounds for a diet. He can be able to dig 6 meters hole down in less than 15 minutes time. But here by the ground, he's got quite a lot of burrows. He borrows these for a diet, and he uses one of them. By the termite mound, he knows it's dangerous because he digs looking for a diet, and suddenly the hole becomes a timeshare. When he's not there, other animals goes there and hide their babies. So he doesn't normally use the termite mound. He will be having a hole somewhere in the area. At one stage, I had an artfuck which ran into one of the holes where the warthogs were hiding during the day. I was on a walk and I found him. I started following, and after that, he just went to one of the holes. When he got to that hole, less than 2 minutes, the warthogs and the artfak came out running from the very same hole. So the leopard search now is starting. This is the beginning of my leopard trekking. While doing that, let's cross over back to David.
Well, it's always exciting to see aardvark tracks, but I would say seeing an actual aardvark is quite appealing. Now, there's one big difference between the Mara and Juma, or the Samisans, because tracking there is so easy and very good to tell tracks. In the Mara, we have what you call the black cotton soil, and it's almost impossible even to track animals. And should we be doing, bushwalks like they do in South Africa, I don't think we'll be winning a lot when it would come to tracking. We either have the black cotton soil or the red clay, and we don't have much of sand. That sand, I think, helps, sitting a lot, and that's why he could easily identify that track. Lions here, unless we see them walking, say, on the edge of the river, and we pick the tracks, or after heavy rains, it's always very difficult for us to see nice tracks. Well, the Olololos are still enjoying the sunrise here, and not showing much intent of the toppies we saw earlier. Just enjoying the cool breeze. As you can see, the grass that's being moved there by the little very strong wind. Still, they're looking the same the toppies were, but not with much intent as before, where it showed they were thinking of something. It couldn't be a better view than this. Thank you very much. Personally, I am enjoying it every other 1 second. When we look at the contrast of the green against the colors of the Olololos here, and having all the heads raised up. The times when we watch cats, when we watch lions especially, they become a bit frustrating when they go flat. But so long as they got their heads up, as much as maybe they could not be doing something, and they got their heads up like that, it's quite exciting to behold. And look in the background there at the torchwood trees, and I'm sure some elephants way in the background there. Yeah, I think Bungay will agree with me. Those are elephants in the background. And all the trees that you see spreading out there in the savannah are what we call the torchwood trees, or the balanite. Very iconic trees of the Mara and both Serengeti. You'll always see them around. And the trees that never get dry, even when we're going through proper summer, they never get dry. And I'm surprised that vehicle is just driving there, not wanting to look to the right to see the lions, or left to see the elephants. Maybe he doesn't have any guests with him, who knows. But this is quite a spot to be. Never too late. How far am I from these lions? Never too late. My guess is 1, 2, 3, 20 meters. Never too late. I'm about 20 meters from these lions. Will you believe that? And I'm estimating them. Because never too late, what would happen is, if they get a lot of confidence with us, and we got a few other trucks never too late here apart from myself, and everybody's quiet, people sit down, the animals will always cooperate and also give us the best view. But if people are loud and shouting, a lot of body movement, then that's when it becomes a challenge. And what people also do, never too late, to be their guests, their guides will always advise them the direction these lions are looking to. You leave it open, so that should they decide to hunt, they'll have a corridor, or like, an escape, not an escape route, but a way to get to their prey. Well, the Olololos would be very happy if you'd rise and shine. At least it's a lot better than just having them laying flat, doing nothing. So most of these are youngsters. Melissa, what determines when they move for the prey? There are a few reasons, but I would say the main reason is depending on what they're hunting. If it's, for example, a big prey like buffalo, all of them will be involved. But if a small prey, Melissa, for example, a zebra or a wildebeest or a torpedo hartebeest, one of them would do it. But lions have been known to be very strategic. When they go hunting, they have what we call an ambush, and you might get maybe the path finder or maybe the lead female moving in a particular direction, communicates with the rest of the pride and tell them, you stay here, wait until I push this prey towards you. Or they may form a V kind of shape, and the lead female will move towards the prey and try to give a little chase from behind, and the prey will take off coming towards these lions. I'm trying to imagine a trauma of you, Melissa, seeing like 5-10 lions in front of you. The first thing you do is to stop like 1 minute, and of course before you make a decision, all those lions will be on, of course, on your neck. That's exactly what they do, Melissa. How they communicate, we guess, is always a lot of body language. You see them at times moving their ears. You see them flicking their tails, because you never get any audio or any call when they're planning an ambush to bring a prey down. But we'll always tell they have some kind of communication. More so, we think is always the body language. Hello? Did you give up? They don't look very hungry to me, so them going a whole day without a hunt, I'll be surprised. Well, I'll just stay here with these cats of mine, but I think Steve Ovo could be having a more interesting cat in South Africa.
Yes, well, welcome back, everybody. Look at who we found. Well, after his possible altercation with Hukumuri yesterday, Hosana is safe and resting under a tree in our southeastern corner, sort of a central part of Tingana's territory. And, well, we're good to tell you that he's actually made a kill, and up in the tree here is a male steenbok. Right up in a beautiful marula tree. It's not the most accessible or not the most visible piece of meat, but one of the other vehicles was coming down Cheetah Cut Line. There we go, you'll be able to see it now. It's not the most obvious, and there you can just see the face, and there are some horns, and there's the steenbok face. And well, not only are the marula trees a beautiful part of the landscape, they are also a very characteristic and diagnostic tree of the savanna in this area, because where we are is once again on the top of the Katina, with the red bush willow dominated area with the large, beautifully sized marula trees. And it is a male steenbok that has been caught. And well, Hosana, I think it's a steenbok. Yeah, definitely looks like a steenbok. Not a duiker, not an impala. But look at the height that he's managed to carry that up. Pound for pound, an incredibly powerful cat. And well, not only has he survived his potential altercation with Hukumuri, he has caught himself some breakfast. But right now, he is doing what he does best, taking after his father Tingana and having a proper nap. Everyone, I'm sure, is very excited that he's okay. I had a little bit of a worry yesterday, but it just goes to show that when a new male moves in, he does not stay close by. He just moves off away from wherever the potential threat might be, because now we are on the eastern side and Hukumuri went back west again. So this is an area that is well known for Tingana and for the support of Tingana. And well, we're hoping, because we're pretty close to the boundary with Chitwa and Torchwood. We're right down in that southeastern sort of corner. So an area that Hosana has always felt safe at Chitwa, and sort of in these areas he's always felt safe. When Hukumuri came last time, we had him a few times in the area, in and around here. And it's also the area that Tandi moved into with Tlalamba when Hukumuri moved in last time, and seemingly has kind of stayed pretty much in the area as well. Well, we're very excited to find the little chief. It has influenced our botany discussion this morning, but not too much, because, well, being up here on the top of the Katina, with these large-leafed bush willows around provides the perfect shade for a slumbering cat, an area where leopards don't spend too much time in the dry season because, first of all, there's almost no small game animals there, and, well, there's no shade either. Isn't he looking very, very comfortable? Having a close look with binoculars to see if we can see any wounds on him, but he look very, very okay. Kelly, you want to know about kills being stolen less. Now, essentially, if a kill is in a tree like this, it might not be seen, but that is not how leopards find kills. They generally find them by smell, and they would very, very easily be able to smell this after a day or two, especially once the stomach has been opened. And when a kill is up in a tree like that, it's got such a much bigger potential to waft that smell downwind, which might attract hyena and, well, the Duke of Djuma himself, who has not made a turn in the last few days. Well, we could probably expect to see him here at some point today or this evening, because as we know, the son, Hosana, is quite a provider for his aging father. And, well, with Hukumuri in the area, Tingana is going to need all the food he can get to muster his strength to oust the interloper. But very good. Nice to see you, Hosana. You have moved quite some distance in the night. And, well, he is enjoying a little bit of cat slumber. Kermie, it's hard to say, really. I mean, it's all draped over the branches there. I'm trying to have a good look with my binoculars, and definitely eaten most of the rump, and he's kind of split it open, so the tummy is definitely open, but it is really hard to see the way it's been draped there with lots of leaves. I mean, to go back to the previous question, leopards will tree kills, obviously to prevent them being taken by hyenas, but by dragging them underneath the bush, it also limits the potential for vultures, layer eagles to spot them, which often will attract other predators to the scene. But he's got it very, very high. No lion, I don't think, would be able to get that, but it is definitely not out of reach for a leopard. Most certainly, if Hukumuri was in the area, he would definitely go up there and take it. So will Duke of Djuma Tingana. That's not too high for a leopard, but for a lion, we've seen them go into lower branches and very awkwardly come down again. The Avoca males, they stole some kills from Tundi earlier this year in the marula tree, just like this one. Trees that people come from all over the world to see and watch and film leopards in. And they are majestic. They are a food source. They are a habitat tree and favored nesting sites for many, many species. And, well, as we know, the elephant we saw not long ago loves the fruit from these trees. And they have got enormous pumping ability. Even though they occur right on top of the Katina, the marulas are well known for storage of water. And, well, if you are dying and you need water, you can dig up the roots and scratch out the roots and squeeze them into a pulp, and you'll be able to drink as a water source, because essentially the marula is almost a succulent tree on top of the Katina. So there we go. The Katina conversation continues, although we have got a leopard and a kill in a tree. Well, Sid is with the hyenas, I think. I'm not sure. They're quite far away whether they'll be able to smell this kill, but if they were, they would lead him right here.
I have just moved away from the hyenas as the hyenas decided to settle and they were not doing anything anymore. Then I saw that it's better I go and look for something else. Now I am looking for Tingana. Hopefully this morning we might be lucky with Tingana. I haven't seen him for quite a long time, and I'm trying to pick up his tracks here in this area. No sign yet. I heard it this morning early. He was heard from the dam camp, sowing somewhere deep in this area. So the only challenge is when a sow has been heard by the dam camp, it's difficult because it doesn't show from which direction was the sow coming from. can hear the kingfishers are also making their calls here. So I'm now right in the middle of Muluwati, heading much more towards west. So maybe we might be lucky with him also having something like what Steve just did with Hosanna. Thank you very much for such a very encouraging comment. I am going to try him Tingana with a lot of hope this morning. So it's nice and cool here by the drainage line. Now, while I'm checking the Muluwati area, let's quickly cross over to the Masai Mara.
Well, Sydney, you got some job to do. I mean, me with my lions and Steve Ovo with Hosanna. Unfortunately, we have to give you lots of pressure now to get either Tingana or Tandi or Klalamba or Hukumuri, because it gets last night and you heard Hukumuri now. You got some work to do. Well, my Olololos have not done anything. And talking of Olololos, is this prey that we got here. That is the name for those of you who could be joining us now here in the Mara Triangle in Kenya. And what has happened? The youngsters are still in the same place they were, watching the tortoise from a distance. And two fully grown females have thought, well, it's getting too hot and we may need some shade. So they have gone to take advantage of the shade of that tree there, and that kind of tree is what you call gardenia. And I think it's one or two females fully grown and one youngster male. And these trees are very solid. Aiden, that's a very good question for your age at 7, and you're asking what areas these lions would prefer, areas with trees or not trees. Well, I'll tell you, for a few reasons, they may prefer areas without trees like where they were initially, because without trees, they are able to see their prey from a long distance. But again, when it gets hot, they may need, Aiden, some trees, of course, like I showed you those trees there, to enjoy the shade. But also where the trees are many, they are able to take cover, they are able to hide in the midst of the trees, Aiden, so that the prey do not see them. So it depends on the situation. When they want to warm up, they would want an open area like this, and you can see there, Aiden, there's only that one tree there, and they're getting a lot of sun. But unfortunately, in that particular position, it's very easy for the prey to spot them, and definitely the prey will not come around this area, Aiden. But if they need to hunt, they need to hide themselves in a place where the prey, oh, it's a big yawn, I hope, Aiden, you saw that, in a place where the prey, for example, either buffaloes or zebras or wildebeest, do not see them. At that particular time, they will definitely need the trees for cover. They need just to hide so that the prey or the animals they hunt, they don't see them. If it gets pretty warm, Aiden, like I showed you on those other 3 lions, they'll need to get some shade just to cool off. So it's licking her paws. It's very typical. I'm sure, Aiden, you have cats at home or dogs, don't you? And Aiden, that's the same thing the lions will do here, because in general, or we usually say lions are types of cats, and they'll also lick their paws just like the cats, just like the domestic cats we have at home. Hello there, the youngster is rising up. Is it getting too hot for you? Yeah, it's good. Stretch. And you want to wake up and go join the rest and enjoy the shade? I guess that's what maybe he wants to do. Or do you want to change the sleeping position or go sleep on the other side? Yes, not bad. Yeah, that happens a lot. Just like when we sleep, and we'll always toss around in bed, one side of the body to another side. But I can tell now they're facing different direction, not at the tortoise that we I thought initially they might. So a bit of mane coming out on his head if you look at him carefully there. So my guess is he is going to 2 years. Did you try to go flat again? Or were you enjoying the breeze? All right, Eden, thank you for coming back to me. You're such a nice boy. And for 7 years to give me a feedback, they've got a cat that lays down on the Christmas tree. It's fantastic. Now, Eden, I'm going to show you our tree here with those 3 lions, and this should be our Christmas tree. The difference here, Eden, between my Christmas tree and your Christmas tree, we are not allowed to come out of the vehicle to decorate that tree. But Eden, if you're able to take a picture, or you got someone who can take a picture for you, David have sent you a Christmas tree from Africa with the lions down there. Well, I might be leaving my lions here because they look a bit quiet, a bit flat, not doing much. And let's find out if Hosanna is more active than these lions here.
Yes, well, as I was talking about the shade, the sun has obviously moved, and well, he needed to move again into more a leafy sort of area. And there he is, our favorite leopard. He's starting to look up at the steenbok. So I wouldn't be... Oh, good morning, boy. So I wouldn't be surprised if in the next few moments or so he might get interested to go and eat again. And when he looks up into the tree at the kill, generally that's the behavior, the direction and the anticipation of what might happen next. He is listening, of course. It's important. Oh, there we go. Maybe he would like to rather sleep. It is important for a leopard at this stage to be very vigilant. Obviously, if any other predator arrives, there's a good chance it would try and chase him off. So he needs to be aware of that. But their senses are very, very acute, as they are constantly listening and feeling around. But having the carcass stashed up the tree is a very good thing, because if he does have to bolt, the kill is generally okay. Unless it's his dad, of course, who will go straight up the tree and steal it from him. If anything, I think it might be getting to the stage where Hosanna might hear his dad coming, go up the tree before him, and will then growl at him, stand his ground. He's going to need to start doing that sometime soon. But when Tingana comes in, he comes in growling, he comes in menacingly, and he comes in very fast. And so it's quite difficult for a young leopard to stand his ground against such an onslaught. It is obviously all intimidation. And well, if you've ever been charged by a leopard on foot, it can be very, very scary. Are you good there, Tex? Do you want me to move forward? Okay. So there's just other vehicles in the sighting, of course, that'd like to take some photos, but you can see he's quite flat. We're all hoping he's going to be able to jump up into the tree and get his kill. Michael, you want to know if we know for sure? Well, we don't know for sure. Bless you, Hosanna. What we do know is that Sydney was looking for Hosanna yesterday afternoon, and he found Hukumuri in the exact same place Hosanna had been. So there's a very good chance that Hukumuri had come across Hosanna and chased him. We don't know, we didn't see it, but considering that this is the furthest Hosanna's been away from Vuyatela sort of area, and the drainage there for some time, is probably testament to the fact that he got a bit of a fright and he moved off. Obviously, we don't know any of this for sure, but it would make sense that if he did come across Hukumuri, he would definitely move a little bit further away so as to not invoke the wrath of that big male. And the male tried to follow him, no doubt. The scent marking that he did along the way is testament to his willingness to take over the territory from the Duke of Djuma before going all the way west again. We don't know who was calling on the dam cam last night. Was it Hukumuri? Or was it Tingana coming in to reclaim his stake? During the whole drive, Sydney didn't have Hukumuri calling that I'm aware of. So there's no immediate identification for Tingana to come and catch him. It's kind of like a lingering scent, almost like an attempt to take the territory without claiming it outright. Because, you know, if you come across a territory that's vacant and you claim it with all authority, you need to be prepared to stand your ground against whoever it is who would like to come and steal it back. So quite often a leopard will move in, do some scent marking, and then after his confidence is built up, he might start calling after he realizes that the territory seems to be vacant. But Hosana, for now, enjoying some slumber in the beautiful shade of a red bush willow tree. I wonder if he knows what lovely tea you can make out of the leaves. Probably not. He's more of a meat eater. Yes, he is getting a lot bigger, folks. He is definitely getting a lot bigger, and very impressive young male. But for now, I still think he's a little bit small, and it's in his best interest to move if Hukumuri happened to challenge him. But when it comes to meat, definitely it becomes a different story when cats have food. Food is one of those things that cats will defend, but they do need to pick their battles wisely. Obviously, a fight over food is not ideal if you can catch more later, especially if that fight is going to lead to your injury. So it's why when you get males or you get leopards trying to steal food from the other, it's all about intimidation. And if the intimidation doesn't work, well, then the leopard who tried to intimidate generally backs down a bit, thinking, oh, well, that didn't work. I really didn't want to fight in the beginning. But if you really want me to fight, well, I might rethink this. Like we saw that wonderful scene when Tristan had Tingana in the tree and Tundi and Hosana on the ground, and Tundi was giving Hosana all sorts of evil stares and growls, and Hosana walked up to her and stared her down and basically said, enough of this. You're treating me like a child no more, big sister. I think we've all experienced that. If you are a younger sibling, there's a moment in your life when you confront your older brother or older sibling and say, enough. Enough is enough. And they generally take you quite seriously at that stage, because for years they would bully and tease and take advantage, and eventually one day you stamp your foot down like Hosana did a little while ago with Tristan. And Tundi was a little bit bewildered afterwards because she thought she was quite a scary looking cat. And well, she is a scary looking cat, but Hosana said, it's nothing I haven't seen before, big sister. Your bark is worse than your bite. I wonder what he's thinking about now. He's probably thinking about where is the female steenbok that he would like to catch and maybe try hoist up into this beautiful tree. But anyway, we are going to stay here with the little chief. We are not going anywhere. But while we do that, let's go back over to Sydney.
I am now trekking Tingana around the Galagopen area, but here I have not yet picked up any kind of tracks. I'm just assuming that maybe the saw that has been here by the dam camp was coming from this area, because this is the area which is much more on the face of that dam camp. Maybe we're going to be lucky in this area. So the sun is not yet strong. It's not bad. Chances of these predators to still move around, they are still there. Only the elephant tracks everywhere. So the predators, elephant and hyena tracks, they are everywhere. No cat tracks here. So I'm just gonna check all the way up towards Buffelshoek Dam, Cheetah Cut Line, those areas. So the chances of Tingana to go where Hosana is, they are also very high, as we have seen it before. When Hosana got a kill, Tingana goes there. So if they are not very far away from each other, they might visit each other today. So there is some lot of impalas here according to the tracks as well where I am. So the impalas, yeah, obviously they can't attract Tingana. I'm sure Tingana must be very happy because he is getting old, and now that there is baby impalas, he must be targeting them a lot. He is not that very old in such a way that he cannot hunt for himself. He can still take down the big prey. So I will be checking all these termite mounds in these areas, because these days I saw that because of the thickness of the bush, the leopards, they want to observe long distances. So they climb this termite mound. So now let's quickly go back to David, who is having the lion. They're always lying on the ground. They are lions.
Well, good luck, Sydney, and I have decided to leave the Olololos because they have remained flat all that time I've been there. Of course, much better. They were showing some little intent of looking the toppies, changing directions on where they could be sourcing for food, but I got a feeling maybe before the end of today they might be getting some prey for themselves. Such a large pride will need to keep hunting maybe every 48 hours. More than 48 hours will not be very healthy. Now, I don't know how far the buffaloes I'm seeing they are from that pride, because I was talking about earlier, with all the wildebeest gone, with all the migration gone, now these lions in the Mara, basically, they are left dealing with big prey, and big prey mainly will be the buffaloes. There's a little herd, or is it a big herd of buffaloes, quite a distance from here on our left. And let's see whether Bungay can put them on frame. Is that good, Bungay? Okay. And I'm looking at the lions and the buffaloes. That's about 2 kilometers apart. And once in a while, when I was watching them, they kept shifting their eyes towards those buffaloes. There's a huge herd there of maybe about 100 buffaloes. One of the herds that we have always seen roaming in this area. So the only other candidate I would expect them to bring down today, or during the day or tonight, will be one of those buffaloes. And no wonder they are not very far from that herd there. Nothing unusual. They have always done it very well. With such a big pride, it's easy for them to corner a buffalo. They either look for the young ones. That's always an opportunity they like taking. And in general, many predators will always look for the easiest way to get food. So a young one, an old one, a sick one, excuse me, sometimes unfortunately the pregnant ones or an injured one. They can look, and if they see one of them maybe limping, they just closely monitor it, and they see, oh, you are limping, which means if we come for you, you may not be able to run very fast. That's what they will be zeroing down on, and we have seen them winning that way. Giraffe Gar, the buffaloes, if I look at them maybe from the first one to the last one, they could be making almost about 1.5 kilometers. That's how they, excuse me, they are spread out, Giraffe Gar. And it's normal for such huge herds because they need lots of space and they have to eat a lot. They don't, or they'll always not try to push each other. So it's about 1.5 kilometers from when I look at the lead one to the ones that are struggling in the back, and the direction they could be facing is the Mara River, and maybe they could be going to excuse me, have a drink later. But Giraffe Girl, we have been having a lot of rain here, and I'm sure you know, and always very nice to hear your name. And having so much water now, and buffaloes being so water dependent, they do not have actually to get to the river to drink. We have so much water that have collected in small little ponds, small little springs. All of them are alive and bustling with water. And we also got small little wells now, so buffaloes have a lot to drink. And with the rains, the grass also is so lush, and early morning like now, the grass is full of dew, so definitely they don't need to keep going to the river to drink. Dr. Hyena, you're saying you never knew we got so many buffaloes in the Mara. I'll tell you, my estimate was this herd here could be 100. But Dr. Hyena, there's another herd not far from here. We see it once in a while that has 500 together. 500, Dr. Hyena, you can imagine. So this is just a fifth of what I'm talking about. But the other herd that's not, we'll only see once in a while, consists of about 500 buffaloes together. So, and they always, in general, move as a herd, as a group, until maybe when the males start getting tired, the females will show them the door. And at the times you'll see 1 buffalo, 2 buffaloes, 3, and sometimes maximum 5. When you see them in such small groups, those will be the males. All right, well done, buffaloes, and hopefully the Olololos will be getting something for dinner tonight from this herd of buffaloes here. Okay, Poka, you need to move because you need to find us some other prey somewhere else. Maybe I want to think of doing some birds now. I think I've done enough lions, enough elephants, enough buffaloes. Let's look at Hosanna with Steve.
Well, thank you, Gigi. I don't think I could ever have enough of leopards or lions that are moving, but I suppose when lions are flat and full of food, there's no real point in spending too much time with them. We are still with the little chief, and well, he would love to hear from you. #SafariLive, or drop them in on the YouTube chat stream. That's marvelous. In the frame there, as you can see, a small fine-leafed acacia plant off to the right-hand side, just in front of his face. And, well, that is one of the fine-leafed trees that we talk about in the low-lying areas. But acacias, especially that specific one, I'm trying to think, it looks like an umbrella thorn, but it might also be a red thorn, well known for being encroaching, for moving into areas that are overgrazed, overutilized. And, well, we are not far from Chitwa Watering Hole, and this small little shrub that's growing there, I doubt we'll see too much of many seasons due to the fact that, well, it is very low down and perfect food for impala and steenbok alike. The food source that is favorite on the top of the menu for the little chief, who has got a little bit of a paunch on him right now. And it's not very, very full. He could probably eat an entire steenbok in half a day. He's got a little bit of a belly. You can see him breathing nice and deeply. Very nice little snuggle session there. I know lots of people wish they could just go and scratch his belly. And we forget sometimes that he is actually a wild animal. The little chief, our favorite character, my favorite leopard in the whole wide world. We are super happy that you managed to evade the hukumuri yesterday. And that, well, you are now dreaming of, I'm not quite sure, the eye. There's a fly on his face. There's a good chance he's going to go and feed again, folks, because you can see his face is clean, which means he's already gone through that long process of grooming and cleaning after eating. And, well, it's impossible for a leopard to keep the blood off of their face, especially on a fresh kill. And you can see the flies lurking around his face are testament to the fact that he has been eating. And, well, in general, leopards are quite dirty, because there's always remnants of some form of meat on their face. You can almost see where he's combed his whiskers. Carol, that's essentially it. A leopard that holds a territory, scent marks and soars, same as lions. But then what also happens if a lion or a leopard is moving into area and trying to claim a territory, they will start scent marking and start sawing so as to advertise to the dominant male that is in that area that they are ready for a challenge. And by scent marking, essentially the scent marking is a delayed scent mark response, because the resident male will need to move through that area to find that scent mark and then have to follow that cat so as to then find him for a fight. But if you scent mark and then start calling, well, you are advertising to the male that you are here right now. You are scent marking, which means you're being dominant, and, well, you are giving away your position through calling. And the depth and resonance of that call is quite perceptible to leopards. I'm sure they can tell exactly who it is or what kind of energy or size or condition that individual is in. And, well, then they'll make the call to either go and compete or to slink away and fight another day. Tingana, earlier this year when Hukumuri moved in, was in a bad state. He wasn't walking very well, had a bit of an injury. He seemed to be quite sick as well. He managed to maintain calling and scent marking, even though he didn't manage to carry himself around his territory very well. He was able to call and to shout his defiance to the world, and, well, all the other males around realized that, ooh, that's a big, strong male. Even though they hadn't seen him, they just knew there's something in the tone that tells me there is a big male there, and it's all that intimidation process. Ian, you know, anything is possible with Hosana. I doubt it, though. I've never seen two male leopards sort of coming together and sort of enjoying each other's company. Tingana and Hosana seem to be quite friendly at a standoffish sort of way, but I don't ever foresee Hosana coming to Tingana's aid in a fight. Leopards are by nature solitary, and males defend territories from other males on their own. If anything, a female would assist her cub in a fight. I've seen that before, but I've never seen a son assist his dad. But, you know, anything is possible, and if it did happen, well, hopefully we are there to record it for you and to send it out into the interweb so that you can all enjoy it yourselves. But for now, Hosana is flat, enjoying a little bit of a rest. We're hoping before the end of the show he will show us his marvelous agility and climb up this beautiful marula tree, and then to show us his Steenbok prize cached up in there, which is now being wind dried as we speak. Hello, Lisa. You want to know about sawing and the age that Hosana would probably start doing so at? Well, he's 3 years old in February. But a male leopard generally starts becoming mature from about the age of 4. It's been heard of that they might mate earlier than that, but generally 4, 5, 6 is sort of the prime sort of time of a male leopard, and onwards as well if they can maintain it. So probably from about the age of 4, 4.5 or so, we could expect to hear him sawing. But by that stage, he probably would have moved off, found a patch that is suitable for himself, done all this necessary smelling and investigation, and then realized that he probably has a chance of securing a small piece of property and hopefully compete against the male. But by that stage, he will have heard the resonance of all the males within that area, and he'll try and slot himself in between or try and find a vacant piece, or try and compete with the male, maybe equivalent in age or an aging animal like his father who might be on the way out. So that is what often will happen. They'll just replace and take over, but the calling will obviously happen once there's a huge amount of testosterone. Teresa, you want to know about when they know they've got a voice? I really don't know. I think there must just be a pheromonal cue that happens in them when they eventually realize, well, there's enough testosterone in me now. I'm feeling vicious. I'm feeling strong. I think it's time to announce to the world that I am here to stay. I really don't know that answer for you, Teresa, but I wonder if anyone else out there knows at what age specifically, I think I might have it right, but there could be other information out there. But what is it that's in the leopard's mind that suddenly says, okay, I'm going to start calling now? A very interesting thing, because essentially the calling is then a direct indication that you are there. For example, down in the Southern Cape, there are leopards down there. And leopards, the same species, they're much smaller, but there's a lot of people, a lot of human habitation, and leopards as well that are outside of reserves in areas where people live. They do not call. That is because leopards that call get hunted and shot. So they've kind of learned that by shouting your territory through calling is a direct indication. And, you know, how many times do we find leopards out here because they're calling? We quite easily find them because they're then moving territorial. So it is also something that leopards outside of natural reserves and in areas where there's high human habitation have stopped doing altogether because of the dangers that it attracts towards them. It's the exact reason why they call is to announce where they are, but unfortunately with competition with human-wildlife conflict has led to leopards letting go of their beautiful sawing voice. But anyway, we're going to stay here with the Sana. Hopefully we'll see him feeding on a stembok in a moment or two, but let's go back up to the Mara with David, who's on the move.
Well, when I was in South Africa a few months ago, Hosanna was my first leopard to see, and I was being trained by just Henry. The leopards in Juma and here in the Mara behave very differently, because here we'll always see leopards over distance, and when you see them walking, you know, on the ground, they'll always be on the move. Not very fast, but you tell them they never get impatient. The only time we happen to see them comfortably is when they are on top of a tree, laying on a branch, or if they maybe have a kill. But with Hosanna, I would say Hosanna was barely 2 meters away from where I was. And you see, the trucks or the vehicles they use for game driving in South Africa are rather different from this one here. I want to show you something that I did, and I was rather scared. And Hosanna did not look very worried. Now, if Bungay, you're going to come to my door here, you see this is the door here. So these cars here have doors. The cars we use here in the Mara Triangle, like you see here. But the cars in South Africa, I'm sure you have seen it, Stephen, with seeing they don't have doors. And Hosanna was about there. So what I did, wondering what could happen, I took my foot out of the car and rested on top of the dashboard like that. And Hosanna opened his eyes, he looked at me, and he was not bothered. I tell you, that we cannot do here. It's almost impossible, because either the leopard will come for you, or the leopard will go. Or it might even choose to come for my zebra boot, thinking this is a zebra. Well, I still respect Hosanna, and every time I hear someone has spotted it, it gives me lots of joy. Well, I have not... Aha, thank you very much, Luke. And Luke is reminding me, he was directing that show. It took me lots of nerves, and it took me like James to tell me nothing gonna happen, and I said no. And as soon as we spotted the leopard, because I also remember the camera operator was the Gabonese called Sebastian, the leopard was right there, and I was leaning on this other side, and I was telling James, 1 minute, you have to be a bit serious. There's a leopard right here. And James was like, don't panic. Yes, thank you, Luke, for reminding me you are, directing that show. And for me, ever since my courage started slowly, and yeah, it was very funny, as Luke says, in Kenya, we do not see that. I'm sure you are always watching us. You see a leopard from there, pew, she or he is gone. You see one on a tree, if she or he is just, resting on the tree or feeding, that's the best we can see. But a leopard, like here, and 3 meters, not here. And no wonder maybe we do not do the bushwalks in this part of Africa. One day maybe I would be more than happy. So currently I'm just enjoying the cool breeze of the Mara Triangle in the morning. Some very nice breeze coming on my face. And I thought I'm not going to do the big mammals anymore. I want to do a bit of birding. I haven't seen a single bird, and the few birds that I've seen, like cisticolas or some larks, I'm sure Bungay knows by the time you put the camera on their face, they're gone. if I'll be lucky today, I want to see my favorite bird in the whole world, which is the lilac-breasted roller. That will make my morning. And of course, I'm still very happy having seen those lions, and also that one huge male that was walking, very majestic. Maybe do I have some lapwings here? Bungay, we could be having some lapwings there. Let's find out whether there are some lapwings there. If you like my angle, if I stop there, I think we're going to do a bit of birding, and that ones to me look like lapwings. Are they? Yes, I guess. And that looks like the watered lapwing. And yes, she is. Good morning, lapwing. And they'll always be going in pairs. Are you trying to align your feathers, or do you have a little itch necky? I was talking about birds having ticks, and I heard, I think it was Dr. Kathy who told me birds also get ticks. I can't remember where that story came from. I think it was me and Steve Ovo talking of giraffes with ticks, and I thought, do birds really get ticks? And I said I was not sure, and Dr. Kathy told me yes, birds do get ticks. What I would wonder is, where do they get the ticks from? Is that some garbage there, or are you going to take us to another bird there? Oh yeah, that looks like a plover there. Yeah, that's like a plover there. I'm not sure it's a 2-banded or 3-banded plover. Very good sporting Bungay. Now, all these birds before, until the other day, we used to call them lapwings. But why the names were changed, I have no idea. But the small ones are still, they still kept their names, and we still call them the lapwings. But the ones that are slightly larger than them, they changed their names to lapwings. I'm not sure whether Sydney is winning or he is losing.
Where I am, I'm just looking for anything and everything, as I have just seen contracts in the same area. I try to see if above So Tingana is my favorite leopard. Apologies for a signal breakup. Where I am at the moment, the bush is so very much thick, and the now
Welcome back to Juma with the Little Chief. We do apologize about the technical difficulties that we've had up in the Mara. That is the way it works. Well, don't worry, we are still here with Hasana. He hasn't moved. He is very, very stationary. Just one of the vehicles in the sighting is driving away from Cheetah Plains, and they've got what sounds like an electric vehicle. I want one. They were reversing back, and all you could hear was the branches and the grass moving. You couldn't hear the car at all. It's just this little whip, whip, little winding sound. It's incredible. I mean, we've got these petrol Land Rovers which are quite nice and quiet, but compared to the diesel Land Cruisers, much quieter. But listen, he's driving away now. See if you can hear. All you can hear is the branches. Quite incredible how quiet that car is. Nice advertising there. Cheetah Plains is back up and running. They're brand new vehicles. I'm sure that costs a lot of money. But anyway, we'll stay here. Normally you can hear a Land Rover or a Land Cruiser from miles away. You can barely hear him moving. He's quite nice. Quite nice. I think Graham wants to get us some, but who knows? Hopefully we do. Very nice and quiet. We drive around and hear the alarm calls. We hear the birds. I think it'll be quite magical. Hello, Chili Pepper. You want to know how long he'll feed on the kill? Well, the steenbok's only about 8 to 10 kilograms, about 20-odd pounds, 22 pounds. And, well, invariably he could feed on the entire thing in one sitting if he wanted to. But that is the way with a leopard. Because they can hoist the kill, they can feed on it at leisure. But I have a feeling that he'll still be here this afternoon and maybe into the early evening. He'll have another feed, probably 1 or 2 more times today. He'll go up there and eat. And we're not far from Chitwa watering hole, so you might even go there and have a drink. But there are also some little muddy water wallows around nearby. Might be even closer for him to have a drink. But seeing as it is going to be a very hot day, I foresee him staying in the shade for most of it, maybe just moving from one bush to another as the sun changes direction. And no doubt he'll still be here in the evening, because as it gets hotter, they don't really have the desire to fill their belly anymore because of the metabolic energy that's being transferred through their body as they digest. It's very, very hot. And he's going to wait for his steenbok to cool down properly and cure, so he has a bit of a cold meat lunch. But a steenbok could be eaten on by a leopard in one sitting, but invariably you find them for at least a day, maybe a day and a half when it comes to tundi. But it's not an enormous meal, but it is the perfect size meal for a cat. Especially one who's moving away from the big dominant hukumuri. Nico, view, you want to know if we saw him make the kill? No, we didn't. One of the other vehicles on Game Drive that found him actually found a drag mark in the road. Now, a drag mark is because leopards will kill wherever they kill. They hunt out in the open landscape, and they will end up dragging their food by holding it in their mouth, and it drags between their legs, and they'll find a nice prominent tree like this marula, the perfect tree to take it up in, and then they can sleep on the ground at their leisure. Sometimes you'll find the leopards in areas where the trees are very unsuitable, and well, you see them climbing in there. And Hosana has been a classic example of finding very unsuitable trees since I've known him. But today he has found the perfect specimen, and he has managed to cache his steenbok very, very high and very safe. So no, I didn't see him make it. I wish I had, but it happened sometime in the night. By the state of the steenbok, he's probably fed on it at least twice already. It's probably more than half of the backside and rump area has been eaten. But no hyena on the scene, which means that the scent has not yet carried anywhere. It is very unlikely hyena are going to move in during the daytime. If they do come, as soon as the sun starts to set, they will be back. But Hosana will be up and at him by that stage, and probably in the tree feeding. And I anticipate myself being parked here this evening to watch this gentleman, as we do have another SABC3 TV show this evening. And well, as we all know, Hosana is the star of the show, and well, I'd love to talk about him this evening with all of our new South African viewers who might not yet have learned to love him as much as you and I have. There's no doubt once he wakes up and climbs into this tree, we're going to get the most awesome visuals of a leopard doing what he does. And well, we'll have the thermal camera this evening as well to see him in the tree looking as hot as a golden cat does. But in the meantime, while I look through the branches, let's go back up to David.
You know, cats go flat. Somehow the guide also goes flat, and you don't sleep, but it will happen, because if the leopard Hosana is not doing much, chances are Steve might also go flat. We don't want him to do that. And so just like me with my lions, when they went flat, I thought instead of going flat, I move on. My birding, well, I started very well with that lapwing there. I haven't seen any other bird, but the area I am in, I've always seen the lilac-breasted roller. I was telling Bungay about it, and Bungay was trying to pronounce that name. Then he went, which is rather difficult for him. We got particular groups of people in Kenya, and Bungay is just laughing, or particular tribes in Kenya, where they always have an issue with two letters, L and R, and they'll always mix them so easily. And I told Bungay to say the lilac-breasted roller, and he was saying the lilac-breasted lola. Well, that's more me than him. because Bungay comes from a different ethnic group than me. Bungay comes from a group of people that you call the Nilotics, and I come from a group of people that you call Bantus, and we suffer a lot between those two letters, L and R, and many times we'll call LR and vice versa. There's something James have always told me to do. I can't remember what it was, not sure if Luke is going to remind me, but it was either something like red lorry, yellow rolly. I can't remember that was the thing, but every time I went when I was supposed to say I'm just about to say it, I don't want to say that, when I was meant to say the L, exactly, that's right. Look, it's red lorry and yellow rolly, and the Bantus suffer a lot, and I'm one of them. And Bungay, can you say that? What exactly Luke said? Bungay, I'm listening. Much louder. Red. Come on. Red. Yellow. Okay, now say it much faster. Okay, let's go on. Roll yellow. Can I hear you say that? Bungay is doing like this. He's like, But I'm saying, Bungay comes from a particular group of people where they do not suffer like us. And it's quite a challenge when you cannot, or when you mix those two letters. Well, where is the lilac breast roller? That's where all that story came from. And Bungay commented, that bird, it's not very small, and neither is it very big, but it has such huge name. Giraffe Girl, yes. And I tell you, when I went to college, Giraffe Girl, I had a choice of two languages. And I used to work for another company, and when you'd apply for a job there, of course, they would want your guiding background, and that bit was not difficult. I mean, many guides pretty, trained in terms of their geology, botany, zoology, but that company insisted, and they told us, to them, English is not a foreign language, so you needed another foreign language apart from English. And we told them, look here, I mean, what are you telling us? We got our own mother tongues, which are not related to English at all. And a country like Kenya, we got another language that we call Swahili. Actually, it's called Kiswahili and not Swahili. And that, again, is very different from English. And we would say, we got our mother tongues, we got Kiswahili, and we got a bit of English. Now, when you're telling us of another foreign language, you're making our lives difficult, or you don't want to give us jobs. And they told us, do not worry, Giraffe Girl. That's what they told us. We are going to train you. And we were like, what are they talking about? So we had a choice, Giraffe Girl, of Spanish and French. Now, Kenya is a country that's very close to two countries called Rwanda, Burundi, and another country called DRC, Congo. And we have always seen many people coming to visit Kenya from those countries. And the first other foreign language we saw or had, apart from English, was French. And when these people would come here in Kenya and speak French, we were like, ooh la la. So myself, I told the lecturer or the college we went to, I want to do French. We were 20 in the class, and apparently of the 20, 15 of us wanted to do French. And the lecturer was, no, it will be 10 French class and 10 Spanish class. And I ended up doing Spanish. I do not regret, Giraffe Girl. I'm so proud of the Spanish I did, because I found out we got so many people in the world that speak that speak Spanish more than French. And when I worked for that company, most of my guests were from South America. I'm talking of Costa Rica, Venezuela, and countries like Argentina. And when they would come here, they would get very excited seeing an African speaking Spanish. Fiamma, yeah, that's a great comment, and I'm happy that, you think it's not a big deal and nobody gonna suffer if I cannot tell or pronounce very well L and R. And many people have suffered in that particular field. Well, not sure, Giraffe Girl, you speak Spanish, and if you do, you could engage me a little bit in Spanish, and that could be exciting, because when we do what we do, mostly we broadcast in English, and we never know when the Spanish are listening to us. Very good. Where is my lilac-breasted roller that brought that exciting subject this morning? Lilac-breasted roller. If I do not see one, I want to get sitting some pressure off from his shoulders and tell him to forget looking for Tingana or for any leopard or for any cat, and tell him to look for me, my favorite bird, the lilac-breasted roller. Take over, Sydney, please.
The lilac-breasted rollers. Maybe I'll find one here before I get to the Galago pen, which is going to be my last hope at the moment, as I have been to almost everywhere in the game reserve. I cannot see any of Tingana's tracks. I'm not too sure if he was sowing from the property or from the neighboring property. So there are quite a lot of lilac-breasted rollers around the Galagopen Viotella area. Maybe when we get through that area, we might find some promising tracks. All I've heard is that there has been some female leopard tracks heading towards Galago for this morning. Maybe we might be lucky there. So the other vehicles are not too sure if it's Tandy or any other female from somewhere else. So we have seen some other females entering this territory, introduced by Tingana. If not Tandy, it might be one of those. Oh, it's just the hyenas. My favorite bird here on Juma is the battalias are so beautiful, and where I come from, they were not occurring in Tabazimbi, much more western side of the Limpopo province. We didn't have battalias there. Apologies, I am experiencing some bad technical signal issues. Now let's cross over to David.
Welcome back. I do apologize once again about the signal cutout and technical issues that are plaguing us this morning, but that's okay. We are still with the little chief, who is still on a very comfortable looking log, enjoying the slumber in the shade. We've done the same, as you saw before. When Senzo came back to me, we were ensconced in this bush of a red bush willow, and well, it's providing us with a little bit of shade under the scorching sun, because well, in the savanna ecosystem, to survive, the mammals have been enabled to use the shade to keep themselves cool, because it gets so hot here in the summer months. If there was not shade, we would have to have a whole different element of sort of mammal diversity and adaptation to be able to survive out here. But with the shade, allows animals like the leopard and the lion to do very, very well as they sleep through the hottest hours of the day. And well, with all of the ruminants that we know of, including the little poor steenbok up in the tree, after feeding for some time, they, in the coolest parts of the day, they can then go and find a nice shady spot to sort of ruminate and meditate as they go along. Steenbok only apart from the one in the tree who's now dead, will go through bouts of feeding, 20 minutes, and then 20 minutes of ruminating. So we're constantly feeding and resting to sort of sustain that very high nutrient requirement in their body. Melissa, you want to know if leopards groom more than lions or more frequently? Well, leopards have to groom themselves. So lions are able to groom each other and also reaffirm bonds after they've beaten each other senseless while trying to feed. A leopard, though, will feed and then groom at their own leisure, going back to feed again and then grooming at their leisure. They don't have the same sort of mindset of, let me feed a little bit till I'm uncomfortable and then go and rest, groom, and then feed again. Lions just eat everything because it is the need to eat as much as possible. And then they go through an enormous grooming period before moving off or even feeding again if it is a very large carcass. But the feeding intensity is much, much bigger. And the grooming in lions not only is to clean themselves, but it's to say sorry that I punched you on the face and clawed you on your nose and attacked your head, because there's a lot of aggression that is portrayed at the feeding site with lions. And, well, if you're not strong enough to maintain your standing in and around the feeding site, well, you are not supposed to be a lion. There's no room for weakness when it comes to lion pride. Leopards, being solitary, don't go through the same rigmarole. If Tingana came a running, Hosana would jump away and run off, whereas lions often will basically fight each other or stand their ground on a kill or on a carcass, unless it is a big male that moves in. And quite often it's not necessarily that the other lion moves off on their own. They are beaten, hit and punched to a degree that they decide, okay, well, I will move off and fight another day. Leopards, you rarely see them coming to blows. It's often, as I said in the beginning, the leopard will run, Tingana will come in, you will hear him hitting the ground with his big paws, calling, this very loud, raw growl coming from his chest. And well, that is enough to scare the pants off most people. It works very, very well. Being charged by a leopard is probably one of the most frightening feelings in the world. The noise that they're able to generate is all designed to frighten you and intimidate. And well, I must admit, folks, I've had it a few times and it works every single time. Gets the heart beating a lot faster. Nita, that's a really good question. The Steenbok female is the one that is still alive. You know, there's lots of discussions and debates about antelope and whether they will reclaim another mate, or what it is essentially is a male and female Steenbok. They occupy two small territories that kind of adjoin each other, and each of them is sexual specific, which means they defend that territory against other females or other males. And if that small territory suddenly becomes vacant, a small roaming Steenbok male could find it vacant, and well, he could start moving in, and he'd find it vacant because there'd be no pre-orbital pasting marks, there'd be no scratching and defecation, or none fresh anyway, coming from a male. So he would be able to move in knowing, okay, well, it seems like the occupier of this very small territory has moved off or is dead, and it happens regularly. Steenbok obviously are pheromonal or olfactory communication, and like birds, if a male or female bird from a breeding pair disappears, you'll often get another male or female moving in quite quickly afterwards, because if in the morning we hear this bird chorus, the bird's song, both the male and female, if they are territorial, will call, and if there is a floater on the outside who hasn't got a territory, is wanting to move in, suddenly notices that there's a duet being sung by a female and there's no male adjoining her, well, he'll often move in and then claim that, or all the males that are floating around will try and move in as quickly as they can to try claim that territory. And well, it is up for grabs. It just might mean that the female Steenbok is alone for a season or two until an adequate mate moves in. But there is always male and female Steenbok being born and moving around and trying to find territory of their own. The same with all territorial animals. They'll move into a habitat that is suitable for them, And once all the available habitat territories are taken, those individuals will just hang around on the periphery, waiting for a gap, waiting for the bird to not call, waiting for the leopard to not call or scent mark, waiting for the rhino not to scrape or scent mark, waiting for the lion to not roar, waiting for the steenbok not to scrape or mark with the preorbital gland. And these are cues and signs that are very, very important out here, and they are ongoing. And after rainfall, they need to be reaffirmed when it comes to those animals that use smell for territory. Because once it gets washed away, like when we saw Hukumuri yesterday, he came in to the heart of Djuma due to the fact that Tingana has not managed to reaffirm his territory in the last few days. So it left it open, and that is exactly what will happen with the steenbok. So Cal6, you want to know what is more frightening, being charged by a lion or a leopard? Well, Cal6, I'll tell you that they are both quite frightening. There is something about lions that is a bit easier for me because of the eye contact. The lions are also easily seen, and you generally know that the lions are there before they give you a little bit of a rev. But the only one time I've ever been charged by a leopard, I didn't know it was there. And so needless to say, I had a bit of a shock, and well, all sorts of movements in my body happened, and that was frightening. But that was right in the beginning, before I knew anything about what's going on out here. But the feeling that you get inside of your body when you are charged, or at least growled at, by a leopard or a lion, you cannot replicate that in any other way. Oh, hello, boy. Yes, you're going to yawn. You're going to show us how you're going to climb up the tree now and have some food. First, a little bit of a scratch. But obviously, Cal6, we don't instigate. There we go, he's looking. We don't instigate, we don't try and get lions and leopards to charge us. That is not the objective. It is absolutely, completely against what we try and do. The time I was charged by leopard, I didn't know it was there. I had an idea there was a kill in the area, and I was just trying to have a look, and this leopard came out of nowhere. I'm just going to talk to Aubrey quickly, but I believe my radio causes interference while I do that, so I'm not going to do it. I'll actually just use my hand signals and body language while we look at the little chief. Okay, he saw my hand signal, and I'll be able to then get him to move in right next to us here, and he can use the radio to talk to the other gentleman. Just in time. He's going to get up and stretch, and he's going to probably go up into the tree and show us how agile he is. Just in time. Hello, Orbs. Okay, so Hosana is doing some grooming. I wonder if any of you can lick your neck. I'm trying now. It's very hard. You obviously know why they need to lick their necks when they get food or blood on the neck. It's important to be able to clean that off. And Luke is having images of me trying. Everybody try and lick your neck now. See how you can. It's very hard. It's actually impossible. If anybody can lick their neck, let me know. Send an image through. Here we go. Okay, we're ready. We've been waiting for this moment. Oh, you're going to come and say hello first. Where are you off to, my boy? Are you going to go drink? Or are you thinking about... He's walking right in front of us. Isn't this fantastic? He's going to find another shady spot. Hey, this is my shady spot. The red bush willow doing exactly what it does in the summertime, providing the shade and the shelter. You see we're ensconced in this bush, as Jamie Patterson loves to say. And look how quickly he disappears. So this is the kind of landscape that you expect to find steenbok in. Sort of mixed bush willow. There's not too much sort of fresh grass, or tall grass should I say, but it's scattered bush. It's not thickets. When we look at the deka and nyalas, they like thickets, whereas steenbok like sort of semi-open areas with scattered bush, and the grass can get relatively long, but it's not regarded as being the sweetest of grass. So the territories that steenbok have in these areas are a little bit larger than they are in an area that has got more sort of highly nutritious vegetation. because the Steenbok territory is designed or determined by the amount of food, and that is what they do. They look for an area that's got enough food to obviously keep them going. But we're just going to move back so you can get a beautiful screenshot of the little chief, who is is chosen the same tree as us for shelter, which goes to show that both myself and Osana are thinking along the same lines. But anyway, while we reposition, let's go up to David in the Mara.
I haven't done much now, and my lilac-breasted roller has not showed up. So what I'm trying to do is just now to enjoy the views of the Mara, and I'm sure Bungay will show us the beautiful Mara that every time when the birds disappear, when the mammals disappear, I'll always try to get a vantage point where I can look at this landscape of the Mara Triangle to see Savannah. Sorry, there's a plane flying above us, and to see the iconic trees of the Mara Triangle that we call the torchwood trees. Beautiful background, beautiful sky. All those clouds don't look scary. Scary I'm talking about. They don't look raining, not the cumulus type of clouds that will always bring rain. They look the right color. That tells me when I come back in the afternoon, things will still be good as they have been this morning. And I'm sure the rain could have given us a nice break, because after about 2.5 weeks of hammering, that was enough. And it will also give the game rangers, or rather the park management, time to repair the infrastructure. Some of the small roads were washed away and so many rats were caused, or some of the rats got deeper, and they'll always come and refill those rats with marams. Small little culverts were washed away, or some bridges got some little cracks. They'll need to come and patch up that. Always sometimes come and park the car here and see elephants walking down there, or giraffes, and especially early in the morning when they look like silhouettes as the sun tries to push up before it gets bright in terms of natural color. I remember this morning when we started watching some elephants. Kalsik, how far am I from the Tanzania border? Now, if I would have gone to the area, Kalsik, I call the Sausage Republic, that area is barely about 5 kilometers, about 203 miles more or less, but today I'm much further. I would say on a straight line, as the crow would fly, I'm 20 miles away from the Kenya-Tanzania border. And Kalsik, I'm sure you know, neighboring us is the Serengeti National Park, and the Serengeti National Park and the Mara Triangle are one and the same ecosystem. If Kalsik, you'd be here, and I take you across to Serengeti, you'll not even notice to be like you're still in the Mara, or even the Serengeti you brought in the Mara, you might easily say you're still in Serengeti. This is how Serengeti would look, exactly Kalsik, as you're seeing on your screen. Well, let's go back to South Africa. Of course, South Africa will not look like a Serengeti. It will also not look like the Mara, and find out about Hosanna.
Well, thanks, David. Indeed, I know he is your favorite leopard as well. David, the first time he was down here in Djuma, I remember how he would talk to me about the leopards. He was amazed. I mean, he became such an expert at finding them. I remember seeing that one screenshot someone had sent through of someone had asked James Hendry a question, and the question strap was on the bottom of the screen, and there was James's face pulling one of his very bewildered faces, and it said, "Is David going to teach you how to find leopards?" I still can't get over how funny that was, because David came down here and was just finding them left, right and center. And as he says, not having a door on the vehicle can be quite perturbing when you are with a leopard, but they are quite relaxed. They don't really give us too much in the way of any aggression, and all that is because of the habituation that we go through and the time spent with these beautiful individuals. He's only about 3 meters from the side of my car now, and well, he's quite chilled, quite relaxed, and well, he's going to enjoy the shade here for probably most of the day, and then we'll be coming back this afternoon to spend some time with him, and maybe we'll get him showing us his agility in the tree. Wouldn't that be something? Hello, Kayleen. Big cats, they are able to have different communication signals. Obviously, the youngsters are able to do more of a sort of big cats don't really meow. There's a bit of a contact call, and obviously, almost like in humans, when the testicles drop, the boy's voice almost opens up a bit, and it's almost a testosterone thing in males. Females, it must also be a pheromonal thing, that as they get a bit bigger, sort of the throat and the voice box, just like the voice, most children that we know of have got quite sweet, high voices, and as they get a bit older, the voice changes a little bit. Even in ladies, it becomes a little deeper, not very deep, but in males, it becomes much more deeper and much more resonating. And a lot of that's got to do with growth and muscles and testosterone, and also the growth of the chest, and all the Panthera species have got that very well adapted sort of ligaments along sort of the voice box area. Cal 6, it is most certainly Medicinal Mondays tomorrow morning, and well, I will probably be on a bushwalk again, because that is my favorite place and way to do Medicinal Mondays, but you will have to wait and see exactly what it is that we're going to be doing. We're going to look at the little chief for a few moments longer, and I must thank all of you for joining us this morning. It has been a wonderful morning with the little chief showing us his splendor. We do thank you for joining and adding your comments and feedback. We're going to be heading back home, but we'll be here again in the afternoon. Thanks to David and Sydney, FC and everyone for their participation. We'll have a very hot and sweaty day here today, but you enjoy wherever you are in the world. Have a beautiful day, and we'll chat later. Goodbye.